The lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on.
He missed the pit complete. That is crazy stuff.
Side Freitas is on the grass on the infield for 4. He slides through. He tags Richard Eck. The lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold.
Hello and welcome. Hello and welcome to round 1 of the Northwest Major Series 2014 at Daytona International Speedway. Hi, I'm Samuel Ryman. With me in the booth is Kevin Brown and Richard Losper, and behind the scenes doing all the button pushing is Giancarlo Lenzi. Now this is going to be a 12 series season I believe, and we visit Daytona twice to start the season. Once at the road course, and then second time we'll be back here at the Oval. Kevin, could you give us a bit of information on this Daytona road course?
Well, I think everybody knows Daytona pretty well. It's 3.56 miles. It's 11 turns in length. It uses a lot of the oval track. It's high speed, it's low on grip, and it's a lot of fun to drive.
Yes, certainly. Now, we're going to have 3 different cars out, 3 different types of cars out on the circuit today, Richard, but only 2 separate classes. Could you elaborate a bit more on that for us?
Yeah, we've got the Riley Daytona prototype, and then we've also got in a single class racing today, we've got the roof track version as well as the McLaren MP4s. So it's going to be interesting to see how these 2 cars match up against each other. We know that the track, is slightly faster. The DP, of course, is way out there in terms of speed, and I'm sure Kevin can tell us a lot more about that. But certainly, the McLaren does have its strengths. I don't know how it will feature, as we are going to be using a lot of the oval track here. And for flat-out speed, I think the track car is faster. So if you've chosen the McLaren, you're likely to be towards the rear of the field after not too many laps, I would imagine. Back to you, Samuel.
Yes, it would appear that way in qualifying. The McLaren drivers at the very bottom of the scoring board. However, maybe they'll be able to hang on to the draft in the race and put on a good performance. So, like Richard said, we got 2 different classes here. We got the DP class and the GT class, pretty much. DP is the Rileys. Those guys are going to be gone as soon as the green flag drops. The GTs are the Roofs and the McLarens. They might linger a little bit on top speed. However, a win in the GT class is going to be worth just as many points as a win in the DP class. And that means, Kevin, that if you win the GT class and then you win the oval race at Daytona in round 2, you're going to be leading the points.
Indeed, you will be leading the points, but then the question is will all the oval aces come out for the Daytona round the Daytona oval round in a couple of weeks, and how's that going to shake things up? So the fact that it's 6 road races and 6 oval races mean you're going to have to be good in a bunch of different facets to win that trophy.
Yes, and I believe this is a 12-week season, but only 8 weeks count. We have 4 drop weeks, so like I say, maybe the oval races are accepting this as a drop week. Now, we got 26 cars, I believe, lined up, so let's go through the grid real quick, as they're about half a lap done with their pace lap here. Stephen Ellis on the pole, just a couple of tenths over Ryan Thomer and Richard Wedstead. Those 3 drivers have a big gap ahead of the rest of the DP field. David Warner in 4th, Tracy Reynolds in 5th, Jeff Graham in 6th, and Jack Longress in 7th. And then comes the GT field, Richard.
Yes, and leading the GT field in a roof track car is Jimbo Pfeiffer, followed by Ryan Otis next to him. Matthew Saboski is next in 3rd place. Then we have a couple of DP drivers who were slower than the roof track cars in Chris Beck and William Fletcher. And it looks like they're not starting by class, so these guys will be mixed in with those roof cars. Following them, we have Carl Clements, Ryan Worley, who we are very familiar with, Brian Barnes, Cliff Kaya, and Chris Blend. Kevin?
In 18th will be John Brown. 19th, Ray Nelson. 20th, the driver known as Skip. 21st will be Lawrence Stanton. 22nd will be the first McLaren of Stephen Paulison. 23rd, Randy Webster. 24th, series organizer Mike Willett. 25th, Craig Capon. 26th, Drew Lalonde. And not sitting a qualifying time will be Ray Fournier and Bruce Lawson.
I couldn't help but notice two drivers that were slow to get into qualifying, but impressed when they made it, were Drac Longress in the DP. He will be starting 7th in the number 23 car, and also Ryan Worley in the number 33 roof car. Now, about half a year ago, we did a broadcast at the Indy 500. Ryan Worley ended up winning the Northwest Indy 500 during that broadcast, so we know he certainly has speed. He'll be starting about 5th place in the GT class, so let's keep an eye on them. Now, as far as we know, there aren't going to be any cautions during this race, so hopefully they'll all get to a clean start. Rovals are notorious so for having slippery first corners. You can tell the pace car lights are off. They're coming through NASCAR 4 right now. Stephen Ellis on the inside in the blue and white car. He'll be starting pole position. Ryan Thomas in the black and white car on the outside. The pace car is about ready to peel off. This is a 2-hour and 24-minute race here at Daytona International Speedway. Pace car takes the left. Field is in control, led by Stephen Ellis. And he's waiting, and now he goes. And the top 4 cars already have a bit of a gap, but the flag has dropped, and away they go. Stephen Ellis leading the field into turn 1, Kevin.
Looks like everybody's going to be clean. That was the important thing. Get a clean run through turn 1. Stephen Ellis checking out a little bit through the S's. Richard?
Yep, and Jimbo Pfeiffer leads the group. We did see one of the back marker DPs pass him just into turn 1, so that's a good thing. Jimbo Pfeiffer is definitely leading.
There's a crash heading down out of turn 1. Lawrence Stanton in the roof, flipping upside down, involved in a collision with Bruce Lawson. And so 2 cars already having a bit of a rough start. Now, the advantage they have, you do get 2 quick repairs in this race. So they should be able to come into the pits, get all their damage fixed. But it does mean, Kevin, that they're going to have their work cut out for them now.
And I'm looking at David Warner, who in the Western Horseshoe got his outside wheels on the grass under braking, had to abort the corner, managed to save it on the inside, but he's lost a bunch of track position right now. Yeah, and
I also noticed 1 car starting from pit road. That was Matthew Sabowski in the roof, and that's worked out for him. He was able to avoid that first collision. But going back up front, Stephen Ellis in the lead, Richard.
Yeah, and right at this point in time, I am watching David Warner, who had that off just before. He is behind Jimbo, who's the fastest in the roof car, and he's just passing him on the oval now. So that's a good thing once again to see these DPs getting out to the front, because they can cause all kinds of disasters being involved with the roof track cars or indeed the McLarens.
Yes, and the tyre's still cold. You can tell this is a night race, and so the drivers have to be very careful not to slide out of that turn 1. Like we say, turn 1 here at Roval, a very tricky turn, but so far they're 2 laps in, and it looks like they're doing all right for now, Kevin.
Yeah, looking okay. Just watching Richard Wedstead and Ryan Tama almost got into each other into the International Horseshoe under braking. It was a close moment there, but cooler heads prevailed.
Yeah, well, you know what, guys? Just recently, over the last few days, I've done about 200, maybe even 300 laps around this track in my beloved MX-5, but also in the roof track car. I was thinking about getting into the Daytona race that just took place in the Road Warrior series. I backed out of that eventually, but this course is much faster on the nighttime version than during the daytime version, about a second more in an MX-5. So expect that to be even more time in the faster cars. We're looking for a great race at the moment, steady as she goes, particularly up the front, but a really long race to go still, Samuel.
Yes, a very long race. As a matter of fact, 2 hours and 20 minutes. Obviously, we're only a couple of laps in. I'm trying to catch up with a battle I believe we're having between Warner and Beck. And I'm getting word that the battle's pretty much slowed up. Kevin, you've spotted something else?
Oh, I was just going to follow up on that. It did break down a little bit. David Warner took over the position. Chris Beck is having a little bit of an interesting go with Jimbo Pfeiffer, who is leading the roof field right now. I'm not sure if you caught it on the screen, but Jimbo completely outbraked Chris under braking for turn 1, which is not really what should be happening with the Riley, but a little easier to brake under that tricky corner in the roof with its ABS than it is for the Daytona prototype, which really struggles for grip in that corner.
And I'm watching the battle for third in the roof class right now. Ryan Worley has taken it from 20-year-old Carl Clemens. So I had a feeling Ryan was going to start making his way up through the field. Ryan Otis is the next car in front of him. That would be for second position.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. At the moment, we do have Ryan Worley making some great moves as he moves onto the oval as I speak now. And this oval is really, really fast going around here. And draft, of course, will play a part in both classes. So if they were close enough together, you should be seeing cars catching up to the ones in front of them. But they're pretty spread out at the moment. So we'll have to wait and see how all of this shakes out.
Battle for the lead. Battle for the lead. Ryan Thomas to the outside of Stephen Ellis. Trained in the top of a DP class that was definitely aided by the slipstream. Ryan Thomas makes the move, stick on the outside. You could tell that Stephen braked a little early to give him the corner. So lead change up front. Sorry, Richard.
That's all right. That is, in fact, probably a wise move from Stephen Ellis because with a race of 2.5 hours, roughly, you don't want to be, battling for position this early in such a long race. So he's done a wise thing now, but of course now Ryan Thomas takes over the lead of this race.
Yeah, I gotta admit, I'm a little confused by how that shook out. I think that, so Stephen Ellis was, there was a GT car in front of him in the bus stop. I think Stephen may have just gotten a little scared by the exit speed of the GT car, felt he had to check up, and that allowed Ryan Thomas to get by, because truthfully, Ryan was quite a bit of ways behind approaching the bus stop, so I think there must have been an outside influence that couldn't quite see from the outside.
Yep, but nevertheless, we do have a new leader of the race, Ryan Thomas. Now, this might add a little bit of spice because they come onto the oval once again, and you can see how Stephen Ellis catches up as they go through the bus stop there. And now they've got a long, long section of oval once again. And let's see how he starts to catch up and if he's going to mount a challenge into turn 1, Kevin.
He just very well might. I guess we'll have to see right here. But definitely looks like Steven's a little faster into and out of the bus stop, maybe a little faster on the banking. So I'm guessing that means that Steven's got a little less wing in the car, which is probably a smart plan. It makes it a little easier to drive around cars on this banking, which we see Steven kind of do right now. Takes the outside under braking, and looks like he's got that. Goes a little wide to give Ryan some room, but through the S's, they tuck in 1-2. Stephen Ellis is our new overall leader.
Meanwhile, guys, I'm watching a huge battle in the roof field being led by Cliff Kaya right now. John Brown is in second in that little battle with Brian Barnes behind. Now, Kevin, I think you're pretty familiar with John Brown.
I'm going to plead the Fifth Amendment here.
Well, I'm going to jump right in and tell you that John Brown is the father of our very own Kevin Brown, who is doing the commentary today. John Brown, very, very cautious there into turn 1, Kevin. That doesn't seem to be the case with yourself, so obviously you don't take after your dad right there.
I'm just going to let that one alone. I'm going to ignore these pot shots being taken at me, guys.
Well, meanwhile, there is a battle just in front of John with the Brian Barnes there and Cliff Kaya, as you mentioned, Samuel. It's developing into quite an interesting one.
Yeah, in a way, this is a four-way battle for 5th place in the roof class, GT class, being led by Cliff Kaya. Brian Barnes, John Brown, and then Chris Bland rounding out the end of it. A little pack going on here, still early in the race, so if they hold on to each other's slipstreams and make good pit stops, they could end up with a solid points day here today, Kevin.
Yeah, you said it. Right now, I'm looking, actually, to be honest, at the battle between Kyle Clements and Ryan Worley, and Kyle Clements just went way wide into the bus stop. So a little bit of, or excuse me, who was that?
Accident with John Brown. He not his fault at all. There was a slower car in front of him who had spun out, and he moved to avoid that, and he's currently in the tire wall. Very unfortunate, and he's taken a tow and he's now in the pits. And in fact, the driver in front of him was Kyle Clements. Sorry, that was not Kyle Clements. It was, I don't know who that was right now. I'll check.
Well, the good news, if there is good news about this incident, is if you're going to have a mulligan in the race, get it out the way early, because you can come back from that. We've already said there aren't going to be any cautions this race. Might as well get the mistake out the way early, and as opposed to someone who makes a mistake towards the end of a race, it isn't going to have time to come back from it, Richard.
Yeah, that's true. So these guys, there are a couple of fast repairs available to these drivers, which means basically they will be able to change cars and come out with a new car a couple of times, which is good in such a long race. I'm thinking that you know, if we start to lose drivers due to damage, then with such a smallish field, that would be not a good thing for a race this long, Kevin.
Well, I'm looking at that incident between Cliff Cayer and John Brown. It looks like both of them completely missed their braking points into the bus stop. Cliff may have been okay if John hadn't also missed his braking point, but net result is two shiny roofs into the wall.
Yes. Anyway, long race as we said. So let's go back to the front of the field now and have a look and see what's happening as we see Stephen Ellis having quite a large break now on Ryan Toma. So you were quite right, Kevin. Whatever happened to Stephen earlier on, probably due to him being rather cautious and going slowly through a couple of corners, probably due to slower traffic, which gave Ryan Toma the opportunity to lead the race briefly for a lap or two. But the position has reverted to, I dare say, what we could call normal, with Stephen Ellis now once again leading, and leading very well.
And guys, there was a nice little side-by-side battle between Kyle Clements and Ryan Worley through turn one, and it looks like Clements just took the position back from Worley into the International Horseshoe.
Yeah, and it is a little bit spread out here at the GT field. Besides this battle, these drivers are about several seconds behind 10th place driver, behind the second place driver in the GT field, Ryan Otis, and Jimbo 5 has about 5 seconds on him. But this battle for third is really heating up. I think Ryan was in front, Kevin, and Kyle ran him down and now has passed him and is pulling away a little bit.
Yeah, that's exactly it, Samuel. He definitely did, I should say Kyle Clements definitely did catch up Ryan Worley in that bright green and red car, and did pass him. Had to go at him into turn one. That didn't work, and had to go at him again in the International Horseshoe, and that definitely worked. I'm watching Ryan Worley close up big time under the draft right now. Ryan might be looking to the inside. Nope, he's going to pull it back and not go for an attempt into the bus stop.
Well, I can tell you the bus stop is probably the most dangerous place to attempt an overtake. You've got to keep your car pretty stable through there, and the turn is very tight, even in a slow car. So having done quite a few laps in this car through the bus stop there, you've got to time it exactly right. Otherwise, you don't get through the bus stop without perhaps a slowdown, or at least touching the outside grass. So to attempt a pass over there, as they both come now to turn one, we have Kyle Clements slowing down significantly to allow Ryan Worley to go into turn one ahead of him. Again, Kevin, wise moves on the part of these guys in such a long race.
Absolutely, and the battle for the overall lead has picked up once again. Stephen Ellis and Ryan Toma on each other about 0.2 of a second. Stephen Ellis was held up pretty badly by the lap car, GT car of Drew Lalonde into the bus stop, and that allowed Ryan Toma to catch right back up last time by. And now that they have to deal with this traffic, this race is definitely on. So that 2-second lead that Stephen Ellis had, all gone.
Yeah, definitely a lot of traffic here. Look at this, a McLaren and a Roof up on the high line. They're trying to pick off a draft. They're going to go 3 wide. No, he thinks better of it right there. And now they finally go by the traffic. Is Ryan Thomas going to think about making a move down into turn 1? He's going to look to the outside. I don't think that's a very wise move, Richard. I don't think he's going to be able to pull it off.
No, and in fact he does slow down to let Stephen Ellis take the turn ahead of him. Again, very wise, but certainly we have a battle going on here now for that, and this is for the first place in this series. At the last lap, Stephen Ellis had a bad exit from the bus stop as well, which gave Ryan the opportunity to run him down on the oval section. Now they're going through the twisty turns, International Horseshoe, now through the Western Horseshoe. Ryan's car seems to me, Kevin, to be more stable than Stephen Ellis.
Could be. Not really sure. But, oh, boy, Ryan Thomas got very aggressive there going into turn 6. I thought he was going to make a move and try and make a pass attempt. It can be done there. It's a little difficult to make it work and not wreck both cars, but it can be done. And now maybe Ryan Thomas kind of screwed himself up for the draft. But, no, he's weaving a little bit. He's close. I think he's definitely in the draft as the approach to the bus stop. Now is this time to get a good run through the bus stop as we see Stephen Ellis moving a little defensive on the approach. But here's where Ryan can really set himself up for a good run into turn 1, maybe have a chance for the pass as he loops it. He loops it, he gets loose on the exit and backs it into the wall.
Very unfortunate. He was looking to make a strong move there, and he would have pulled it off without a doubt if he had not made that mistake. So his cars obviously will have some damage. Let's see if he goes into the pits now, Kevin, because he's likely... I'm not quite sure how resilient these cars are to damage, but he has elected not to go into the pits and continues on.
We'll find out here whether that was a wise decision or not, because this is the most unsettling part of the track, and you see the back end step out a little bit there, but Ryan Thomas able to hold on to it. He might be okay, Kevin, but certainly his hopes for a win have taken a bit of a shot.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised, to be honest, that the car seems to be okay. It looked like a big hit to me. I saw a bunch of black smoke, which indicates usually engine failure. But, you know, there is some damage on the back of the car, but he's out there running okay so far.
Yeah, just looking at the back of his car right now, it's definitely dented in more on the left side. He did hit on the right side, so that meant that it pushed the left side all in. And also his aerofoil is bent a little, but other than that, he seems okay.
Well, we do need to go back to this battle between Ryan Worley and Kyle Clements, because it's back on again. Worley got in front of Clements. Clements got back in front of Worley. So these two are going at it hammer and tongs. And as soon as I say that, Clements spins. He spins right in front of Ryan Worley. Nearly takes them both out. But, wow.
Well, fortunately, he doesn't hit anything, and he may be able to get back on in fourth position, and that is what he does. A driver who was not so fortunate about a lap ago, I was keeping an eye on him, was Drew Lalonde in the McLaren, put his nice McLaren into the wall, but however, let's go. Oh no, this is not a battle for position. The white and blue car there is Matthew Zabowski, who is a lap down, so Kyle certainly, he was quite lucky there, Kevin.
He very was lucky, and I'm not sure, how did Matthew get so far down a lap down? He was, I believe, our second place qualifier, was he not?
Yep, he was indeed. In fact, he was third place qualifier. So not sure what happened there. He must have had some incident that happened to him, but he's certainly running down. No, he decides to back out on the entry into the bus stop. People are scared of this bus stop, and rightly so. It is a tricky part of the course, Kevin.
It is a tricky part of the course, but it is important. It is probably the most important corner on the course because it comes off that huge straight and leads on to the biggest, fastest straight and the best passing zone. So it's really important to get a good run into and out of the bus stop.
Yep, absolutely right. I can't argue with that, but it is tricky to get right. As I said, I've done many laps here, and you get it wrong, you'll lose half a second right there.
We also have another roof right now. Skip is into the pits in the gold and brown car. So, like I say, everyone having a bit of a mulligan. I'm not really sure what happened to Skip, but I'm sure this isn't a scheduled stop. And you never know. The drivers who have a spin or have an incident early on but are able to persevere could easily come back into this, Richard.
Ah, yes, certainly. Who are we talking about?
A Skip. I was just making a note of how Skip came in, and we're only 25 minutes into this race. So I'm not sure if he was involved in an incident too.
Yep, Skip is scored a lap down as well. He's driving along by himself. Is there anybody behind him? Nothing behind him that I can see. He's all by himself, and yet he still plays with the grass there. So, not sure.
Oh, and Ryan Thomas makes another mistake. We were being told by our director a moment ago that he was actually catching up with Stephen Ellis, but that's certainly not going to help. And into second place goes Richard Wedstead. Sorry, Richard.
That's all right. When things like that happen, we want to know about it. And it's definitely correct there. I think that the damage that Ryan Thomas did get is starting to play out a little bit. I think he would be wise to pit, wouldn't you think, Kevin?
Could just be a little bit aggressive. The two hairpins are tricky corners in the Daytona prototype. There's not a whole lot of grip there. You're relying on the mechanical grip, not a lot of aero grip. And we're far enough into the race that maybe the tires are just a little bit more off than he expected. And combined with that damage, maybe he just went in a little too hot. But now he just needs to kind of get it sorted out and get back together.
Yeah, he certainly is. He's got speed. There's no doubt about that. He's still got speed. And the car seems pretty stable. Just watched it go through the bus stop there. It seemed pretty stable. So you're probably right, Kevin.
Spinning the bus stop. Cliff KS loops it around. Doesn't hit anything. He'll get back on. He's already about a lap down anyway. Actually, he's going to stay off to the side here to let the faster cars go by. Now he's back on track. Back to you, Richard.
That's all right. You are all over the place and certainly watching all the action as far as you can see. So that's great. So back to the Ryan Thomas battle with Richard Wedstead. This is for second and third place. He has closed up a fair bit on Richard Wedstead there, Kevin. Although just coming out of that international horseshoe there, Wedstead zips away, and Ryan has got all to do to catch up to him again.
And now we need to see where Richard's a little faster and where Ryan's a little faster. I'm not sure about either yet, so we'll have to see. We're just still not sure whether or not Ryan's got that damage, if it's affecting his car. He keeps kind of going a little wide on entry of corners, so maybe there is some damage that's affecting his aero. It's tough for us to tell right now, I think.
How long can these DPs, how long can they go on a tank of fuel, Kevin?
About an hour, so they're looking at about 2 pit stops.
So why wouldn't he pit around now? Because then he'd only have to do about 1 more stop between now and the end of a race.
Well, I agree with you. That may be the smart thing to do. Go ahead and stop, get that damage repaired. But maybe he just doesn't think the damage is affecting him.
Yeah, I think that would be a great move actually to go in and do your pit stop right now, because with the damage that he's gotten on the car, he can take a quick repair. In fact, he'll be forced to take one and come out with a brand new car all filled up and ready to go. And so I don't know, maybe he just wants to conclude this battle with Richard Wedstead and get back to second place.
It's a possibility, but I think he's got to be looking big picture as well. Let's give you an update on the top 5 in the DP class right now, because we've been focusing on these leaders a lot. Stephen Ellis is still in the lead by about 10 seconds over Richard Wedstead in this battle with Ryan Thomas. Tracy Reynolds is in 4th and Jack Longgrass is in 5th. What's the top 5 in the DP class, Richard?
Well, leading the race and leading it pretty comfortably by about 4 seconds is Jimbo Pfeiffer. Ryan Otis is next best. In fact, wow, I made a mistake there. He is leading by something like 8 seconds. Ryan Worley is next after Ryan Otis. followed by Chris Bland and Kyle Clements. And now there's a whole bunch of cars going into turn one. We're seeing a McLaren there, as well as Ryan Worley, and a couple of cars in front of him, John Brown and Lawrence Denton, who we have not mentioned before, all coming out now of the International Horseshoe. So a whole bunch of guys, which was pretty scary there for, I guess, for Ryan Worley, hanging on to his position, which is handy, and having to work through this slower traffic.
Yeah, meanwhile, there are 2 retirements we need to make a note of. Bruce Lawson and Mike Ouellette have already retired out of the race, Kevin.
Indeed, we didn't think that Mike Ouellette was going to run a whole bunch of the race. He's a self-proclaimed oval racer, not a road racer, and very much wanted to stay out of the way of folks. But Bruce Lawson, not sure exactly what happened with that. We'll try and find out.
Yeah, we just spoke a little bit about Ryan Denton. I had the camera on Ryan Denton, and he obliged me with a 360 spin, and he's going once again, so good on him. No damage at all, but just a little bit of antics for the viewers, no doubt.
Meanwhile, I'm watching this battle that Richard alluded to a little while ago, going through the bus stop right now, led by Lawrence Stanton, Matthew Sabowski, Drew Lalonde, and Ray Fournier. I'm not sure if any of these cars are battling each other, but they're all on the same piece of tarmac, and that could lead to trouble, Kevin.
Yes, it can. I'm just trying right now to catch up a little bit on some of our other runners right now, so I'll cut back to you, Sam.
Yeah, I could jump in there and just tell you that Lawrence Denton, who I just spoke about, was passed very convincingly by Matthew Sabowski going into turn one now, going very wide into turn one there. Lawrence Denton does not oblige us with another spin, but he's certainly falling way behind Matthew Sabowski, who we did note before were qualified in 3rd place or 2nd place. So by rights he should be faster, but it's a bit of a mystery that he's so far back. But we'll see what happens as the race unfolds. Still a long way to go. We are only 14 laps into this race, and we are about 30 minutes into the race. So long time to go still, Samuel.
Yeah, Matthew Sabowski is actually a lap ahead of the car he was passing there. Meanwhile, as the 2nd and 3rd place DP cars were filtering their way through traffic, Ryan Thomas caught up with Richard Wedstead, but they got by the slower traffic and spread out again. So traffic is certainly going to play a role in this factor in the race. And Kevin, I believe you have some news on Bruce Lawson's race.
Yeah, it looks like Bruce was just struggling a little bit. He had a wreck and then a spin, and I think after the spin he just decided to call it quits. Matthew Sabowski, we do know that he started from pit lane, but we're still trying to understand why he's a lap down, because we can't find anything that should have put him down a lap down.
Yeah, well, sorry, go ahead, Samuel.
He's not having a terrible race. I mean, he's in 20th overall, trying to work out where that puts him in his class. 11th out of 17 cars in his class still on the track. So you never know. I haven't been comparing his lap times with those around him, but he might just still be working his way up through the field, Richard.
Yeah, that is true, but against that we've had John Brown, who had a spin and then got going again. I don't know if that was enough to keep him ahead of a faster guy like Matthew Sabowski. So all a little bit of a mystery. But guys, back to the battle between Ryan Thoma and Richard Wedstead. It just continues on. Ryan closes up, particularly through this section here where they're on the infield of the course. But exiting from corners, he's obviously very cautious, Kevin, because Richard shoots away from him on the exits, from the exits of corners, and then he comes back at him on the entry to corners. So I think that damage is playing a little bit of a decision maker as far as he's concerned, because he's not running, I don't think, at full pace here.
Well, his and there was a spinning car of who was it? That was Drew Lalonde in front of those two Rileys. So that was definitely an exciting moment. But let me get back to Ryan Tama. His last laps have all been in the 1 minute 41 range, whereas when he was running with Stephen Ellis, he was in the 39s. So he's definitely slower. So again, I think we all agree that damage is definitely affecting him. He needs to get into pit lane and to fix his car.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
Why not? Because Tracy Reynolds, one of the DP cars, just came into the pit, so I'm wondering if Tracy thinks he can make it to the end of the race on just one more stop. Another DP update, Jeff Graham lost a spot when he had the spin coming out onto the oval portion of the circuit a little while ago. Back to you, Richard.
Yeah, no, I think that's not accurate, Samuel. You can't possibly pit on lap number 18 with 34 minutes gone in the race and go all the way to the end. I think Kevin said that you can go about an hour on a full tank of fuel here, so he definitely will have to stop again. But, you know, when things are a little crazy, it's always a good idea to opt out and do your pit stop. Everything can change for you by doing an early pit stop. We've seen that in many of the series that we cover, many of the races that we have covered, where an early pit stop pays dividends towards the end. As we see Ryan Toma back now on Richard Wedstead, this time he's a lot closer, Kevin.
Yeah, you said it. He is a lot closer as they run into turn 6. We've seen Ryan get a little aggressive under braking in turn 6. He is once again, but he needs to focus on getting a good exit through that bumpy turn 6 onto the banking and maybe have a good shot into the bus stop.
And this is for second place, I might add. So there's a lot at stake right here because it's a long series. Points will count. He goes to the outside. They're approaching the bus stop. Richard Wedstead backs right off and lets him go through, Kevin.
He does indeed, and then almost gets back into the back of Ryan Toma. That was a little close for Richard Wedstead, but that, I think, is just a case of Richard saying, okay, you go ahead and take the position for a while. I'll just run behind you.
Yeah, I think that's right. And after all, you know, after only 30 minutes, 34 minutes into this race right now. So he closes up a lot here on the oval, though, and they're approaching turn 1. He does go to the outside. He's probably got enough to pass him because we've seen, oh, this is risky. No, Ryan Toma just backs it down and allows Richard to take the position back. Very good racing from both these guys.
It is. They're definitely staying clean right now, so that's definitely kudos to them.
Yeah, absolutely. What are you seeing, Samuel?
I was watching a battle for about 5th in the roof class where Brian Barnes caught up with Carl Clemens a little bit. Carl has since pulled out a gap on him though, and off in front of him goes Ray Fournier, but I believe he's a lap car and he's just getting out the way. One thing I would like to make a note of is that Jimbo Pfeiffer is leading the roof class. We already knew that. But he's in 6th place overall. He's doing a marvellous job in this race, Kevin.
Yeah, he really is. Jimbo is a quick driver and has taken to this roof like a duck takes to water. He has been scorching it, especially in the Monday night Northwest Club League that runs the roof. Go ahead, Richard.
Just as we spoke about Jimbo, sorry to cut in there, Kevin. Randy Webster spun right in front of him and nearly ended his race right there. But he managed to avoid him going into turn 1. Sorry, Kevin.
No, that's okay. That was quite a moment. I hope we got that on screen. Yeah, definitely. Randy was very sideways in that very gorgeous black and white monster roof. I do like that paint job.
And he went, he hit the wall again, second time going into the International Horseshoe. So he's got some damage on that car from that smack into the wall, no doubt. I think he needs to stop the car and do a pit stop, as we've been advising a lot of drivers.
I don't think he actually hit the wall, Richard, but yeah, he certainly ran off. Anyhow, it's action beginning to simmer down a bit here right now, but we do have pit stops coming up across the horizon, so we're going to take a quick break, and I'm being told he did hit the wall actually, but we're going to take a quick break and we'll be able to get everything clarified for you when we come back. Hello and welcome back to Daytona International Speedway, where Stephen Ellis is currently your leader, but Ryan Wedstead running him down a little bit. Richard Wedstead. Ryan Thomas in third place has made that third stop, but we kept telling him to make. And there's an interclass battle about to go on, Richard, it looks like.
Absolutely. We have Ryan Otis, who is running a roof car, who is actually having a good-ish battle with the other class car, and that is Chris Beck in a DP now. The comment was made by Kevin that this should not happen, but you are watching it happen right in front of you as we speak, Kevin.
Well, we are, and the fact of the matter is that Chris Beck Ryan Otis is very much better under braking for these corners than Chris Beck is, and that's where we're seeing it. Ryan is definitely able to take advantage of the ABS in the roof, and he is using that to his advantage and closes right up on Chris Beck, and then Chris Beck, with the superior horsepower and aerodynamics of the Riley, just motors away on the banking, as you're about to see right now as they come through turn 6. Chris Beck is just going to walk away right here on the straight.
Yeah, he should do that, and that's what we would expect. But now we come to the bus stop once again, and you'll see that Ryan closes right up again, no doubt. Very strange. The Riley doesn't have all that much less grip, though, than the roof car. Isn't that right, Kevin? I mean, if you've got a good setup, you should be pretty good through all the corners on this course, which is not a difficult course by any means.
Well, the two horseshoes, actually, all of the infield section, turn 1, the international horseshoe, the western horseshoe, and turn 6 are fairly difficult in the roof because you have to commit to a pretty high level of speed, try and get some of that aero grip to affect the car and help you grip. Because if you don't, the car really kind of slides around a lot and is really prone to bouncing around on the bumps. So there's a certain level of commitment that you kind of had to accept and be good with. But let's go quickly to the battle with Kyle Clements and Ray Nelson.
I got Carl Clements and Brian Barnes are quite close on track right now. This is a battle for about 4th position, I believe, in the roof class. Still a bit of a gap between them. While we're doing the roof update, before we went to break, we were talking about how we think Matthew Sabowski is so far down. Kevin, you made a note that you think it's a timing and scoring issue, that he's actually on the lead lap, but was put... and look at this. Brian makes a bad move in the boot there, but Carl Clements had an off track and had to slow down and wasn't able to take advantage of it.
Boy, that is frustrating. Anytime you get that cut course penalty in the bus stop, you just kick and scream. It's just so frustrating to get that penalty, especially when you feel like you're about to get a good draft and maybe make a position change.
It definitely would have been a position change. Go ahead, Richard.
Okay. I was just about to say that is in fact where you've got to let your head rule your heart, because if you're catching up to someone in front of you and you're going to the bus stop, that is the time to be just a little bit extra cautious, because on the exit, if you get it right, you are definitely going to catch the guy in front of you. If you get it wrong, you get a slow down penalty, you've lost a couple of seconds straight away. So it's a very wise move to be cautious through the bus stop. And as you said, Kevin, these guys, they're all racing. It's a long race. It's going to be a long series. It's not necessarily the winning of a particular race that's going to make your name. It's the winning of the series eventually. And with a whole bunch of races, 12 in all, and a long race to start it off with, I'm not surprised that we're seeing a lot of caution and a lot of feeling your way around the course to see how you go.
And I do want to point out that, since we haven't talked about it yet, there is a trophy up for grabs for the winner of this series, and the trophy is called the Bigfoot. So naturally, this series is called the Hunt for Bigfoot.
Love it.
Richard Wedstead is into the pits now. Of course, the significance of this is that he was battling Ryan Thomas before he came in, but this looks like a long stop for Wedstead. And I think Ryan Thomas has gone by and will regain second position, and in an intact car now, Kevin.
Yep, and Ryan Thomas is into the S's right now. He's through the S's and approaching the International Horseshoe. So definitely Ryan Thomas served that pit stop that we all agreed that he should take, and it's doing well for him. As there's a spin in front of him, it's the unfortunate Randy Webster, who may have the best looking paint on the car, but unfortunately it's not helping him stick to the track.
That's quite correct. Richard Wedstead just passed him and heading towards the Western Horseshoe right now. And Ryan Toma is already coming out of that and going into the final turn before the banking. So Richard Wedstead's got a lot of work to do to catch up to Ryan Toma right now.
More Riley pit stops going on. Jack Longress is into the pits. We are about, let's see, 24, 22, about 50 minutes into the race. So Kevin, you think they got about 10 more minutes in them?
Yeah, I think we're seeing this moment right now, depending on whether or not the guys wanted to go full tanks or maybe strip by or short fuel, maybe a gallon or so, just see how they could balance out the fuel load a little bit more to not necessarily have to run on a full tank. I do want to update our viewers also, if they've been watching our timing and scoring, they may have noticed that we are identifying classes as C1 and C2A and C2B. The latter two are the Roof and the McLaren, which are being shown in timing and scoring as separate classes, even though they are competing against each other on track.
And Craig Capon is now out third drive out of the race. He had been involved in a couple of spins, and unfortunately it looks like he's had to call it quits. And let's go back to something I briefly began to touch on, Kevin, about Matthew Sabowski. Started from the pits, but we think a timing and scoring issue has unfairly put him a lap down.
Yeah, exactly. It looks like he came out of pit lane and with the race just having started, and he was being shown as already a lap down. So unfortunately for Matthew, he decided to start from pit lane and got caught by a pit timing bug. So we'll have to see if the marshals will look at that after the race and maybe consider giving him a lap back, although I'm not really sure how exactly he can solve it. And William Fletcher goes into the wall, into the bus stop, got very loose under braking as he was approaching another DP and just couldn't keep it in, hard into the wall.
Yeah, and he's actually taken a tow, so he'll be heading back to the pits to try and get a new car. He'll have to wait for the actual tow to take place, so he'll be sitting there for a couple of minutes, no doubt. But we're getting a replay of that, so we'll have a look and see what happened to him there.
Yeah, it looks like he was carrying a lot more speed than he expected, being in the draft of Jack Longress in that red DP, and just got loose under braking and turning. Easy to do there in the DP.
Yeah, and you know, that's a good point you mentioned right there, Kevin. When you are in the draft, you've got to take that into account. You're going to be doing 10, maybe 20 miles an hour faster than if you were by yourself. And you've got to take that account on your approach to some of these tricky corners.
Yes, you do. You got to brake a little bit sooner. Be aware that you're carrying just a little bit more speed. It's a little easier to lock up as well. So running in the draft takes a little bit more practice, especially in an aero car like the DP, which can carry some tremendous speed by the end of the straights.
And my apologies, Craig Capon is not out of the race. He's actually coming back on track now, so I'm not quite sure what happened there, but Craig Capon is still in the race, Richard.
Very good. Glad to see that, because we have a smallish field here, 28 cars in the race. Want to just take you guys through the standings at the moment now that we've come back from the first round of pit stops by the looks of it. Stephen Ellis still leading this race and leading it well, Kevin. Ryan Toma now in second place with Richard Wedstead in third place in the DP class. In the other class, Jimbo Pfeiffer, who's just coming into the pits there, Samuel.
Yes, he is, and providing everything goes as planned, I think this will be an anticlimactic pit stop, because he had a huge lead on Ryan Otis coming into the pits, and I don't think ultimately this is going to make a huge difference in the GT order, Kevin.
No, it won't, because we know that Ryan Otis still has to stop, so does Ryan Worley, so it will probably all shake out in the same order that it was, unless somebody really screws up their pit stop.
It does seem like a long pit stop. I guess these cars that take longer to fuel than the Rileys. He's been stationary for about 40 seconds now.
Yeah, the roof takes a very long time to fill up from a full tank. It's not using a dry brake fuel system, so it doesn't have a speed fuel, and it definitely feels like somebody's trying to fill up the car using a straw in their mouth.
And that's the same thing we will see in the Conti series, where it takes forever, 42 seconds to take 6.4 gallons in the MX-5. So I guess it's about the same sort of thing with these cars, that they take an awful long time. You would be wise to take tires every pit stop, because there's no point in not taking any tires, Kevin.
Yeah, you said it. When you got that kind of pit stop time, you take fresh tires and you have some nice fresh rubber to get out there. The only thing you have to pay attention to is that rubber's a little colder than the rubber you just took off. So that first lap, that second lap, you have to be a little more cautious under braking at the apex. And it sounds like there's a roof that's in trouble, Sammy.
Yes, John Brown had a spin coming out onto the banking where he was involved in a collision with Craig Capon. And really, it wasn't much of a collision, unless it really knocked the toe out on Brown's car. I don't know, but John has been limping it back around to the pits. Car looks okay. Hopefully, he'll be able to get a quick repair and be back out on the circuit. Because I know he had a bit of a mulligan earlier, but he's still running about mid-pack in a DP field, Richard.
Yeah, one thing these guys have to be careful of is if you have even the slightest damage on your car, as we see Ryan Worley coming into the pits as well.
Skip just had a crash. Skip just had a crash coming out up onto the bank, and he is parked precariously in the middle of the circuit, but the field going around him okay. Don't quite know what happened there, but a lot of damage to another DP car, GT.
Yeah, we're just going to see a replay of what happened there. Looks like he just got loose. I don't think there was any other car around him. He's driving along the apron at the moment and letting other cars pass. So Sorry, I'm getting some information there that I can't quite get it. Does someone else get that?
Well, go ahead, Samuel.
Yeah, we're getting information that it did have a bit of damage with a DP car, but I don't see any damaged DP cars out there. So one way or another, Skip really got the worst end of that incident.
Well, Skip is running his car around the outside on the grass, trying to get back to the pits as we speak here. Our director has pointed out that he did get tapped by a DP car, so maybe the DP car didn't get much damage from that at all, but certainly Skip's got some damage. Now he's got it back together. He's actually still on the apron, not quite sure what he's trying to do. Obviously trying to get back to the pits, but seems to me the slow way of doing it.
And actually, the DP car that was with that was our overall leader, Stephen Ellis, who is now in pit lane. So just coincidence, or was there some significant damage there?
Ah, very interesting. Very interesting.
He's
because
lost the lead. Look at this. Ryan Thomas had the quick stop, able to run fast laps in without traffic, has taken a lead from Stephen Ellis. So from wreckers to checkers, Ryan Thomas had an incident earlier. He is now into the lead of this race, Richard.
Exactly, and now we have Stephen Ellis coming out on what appears to be cold tyres. I'm not quite sure whether he took tyres. I'm pretty sure he would have. And his tyres are now quite new and fresh and cold. And that means that he will be struggling through the first few corners. As we see that happening, his car's a little skatey as he exits from some of these corners. But he's got some work to do now to catch Ryan Thomas, who has been out there, has had a pit stop, if I'm not mistaken, already. Got a fresh car and has been traveling quite a few laps on that set of tires. So he's good to go, and Richard has got work to do. Stephen Ellis I'm talking about, has got work to do now to catch Ryan.
On another note, Randy Webster just had a collision in the bus stop. Too much rear brake heading into the turn, clipped the curve, put it in the wall. So Randy Webster currently getting damage repairs in the pits. But yeah, Kevin, we thought, for a moment now, I thought Stephen Ellis was going to run away with the win. But we're not even halfway through this thing, and this series already showing us a bit of unpredictability.
Yeah, you said it. Definitely unpredictable. So I think we were absolutely right in calling that maybe Stephen Ellis got some damage with the driver known as Skip, and you know, that caused him to lose the overall lead. I'm a little flabbergasted. I have to say that Ryan Thomas was actually running quick enough to be able to jump Stephen Ellis in that pit stop, because it wasn't that much longer a pit stop for Stephen Ellis.
I almost wonder, because I'm reading that Ryan Thomas had a faster pit stop because he came in early. Maybe he didn't have to put as much fuel in his car, and perhaps that's what's helped him. It helped him gain that 5 extra seconds or so and go up into the lead. We're going to have to see how that plays out, though, if he can make it to the end of a race on just one more stop.
Okay, and now we've got to have a look and see where Richard Wedstead is in all of this. It's showing on the screen that he is 13 seconds behind the leader, about 9 seconds behind Stephen Ellis, so he is not featuring in any of this at the moment, unfortunately.
Well, that's the same thing I was saying about Ryan Thomas earlier, Richard, and I was proven wrong then, so I don't know, 13 seconds could possibly be made up still.
That is quite correct. I mean, he is 9 seconds behind Stephen Ellis, who is currently about 4 or so seconds in front of behind Ryan Thomas. So very interesting development in the race at this point, at the pointy end of the field. We'll have to wait and see how it all shakes out. There's still more than an hour to go, much more than an hour to go in this race, so anything could happen still, Samuel.
Yeah, we're not even halfway yet, and I'm looking through the field to see if we got any battles on track. I mean, we have some that aren't exactly for position, and there's still some cars left to take a pit stop. Currently, David Warner running in 4th position overall in his Riley. He has yet to take a stop, nor has Chris Beck running in 5th, Kevin.
Correct. And then outside of that, the only person who has not gone into pit lane, or excuse me, it's 2 others, Stephen Paulson and Lawrence Danton have not stopped. Although I thought Lawrence did earlier on in the race, but I must be wrong. And as soon as we report that, David Warner is one of the final DPs to finally serve his first pit stop.
Stephen Paulison has certainly been the top McLaren performer today, but really a bad car choice, I think, on him still, because even without a pit stop, he is currently only 9th in the DP class, which is what we're calling it. It's not its official name. And, you know, Kevin, that's certainly not going to give him a whole lot of points, but like we said at the start of the broadcast, you get 4 drop weeks, maybe he'll be able to use this one.
And I'm going to have to correct you. He's actually in the GT class, not the DP, since he's in a McLaren, not a Riley, but that's all right.
Yes, you follow sports cars a bit more than I do, I guess. Meanwhile, David Warner has made his stop.
Well, guys, whilst this is happening, let's have a good look at what's going on here. So, Ryan Thomas leading. I'm just looking at the sort of lap times that they've done. So last time around, Ryan did a 1:40. Stephen Ellis has just completed the lap done a 1:39. So he's lapping around faster than Ryan Thomas at this point. So 4 seconds behind. Lots of laps to go still. If everything goes according to the plan for Stephen Ellis, he should catch Ryan Thomas in about 3 or 4 laps time.
Yeah, meanwhile, we haven't mentioned a whole lot on what's going in the GT class since the pit stops. Jimbo Pfeiffer is still in the lead by about 11 seconds over Ryan Otis. Ryan Worley about another 9 or so seconds behind him, I believe. And then Chris Bland is actually in the 4th in the GT class. GTs are very spread out, and really it's going to take a couple of incidents occurring, I think, Kevin, to get bunch that back up.
Yeah, Jimbo Pfeiffer has definitely taken command of this field, running 11 seconds in front of Ryan Otis, I should say. And Jimbo is currently kind of hunting down Chris Beck in the 8th place in the Rileys. He keeps taking off big chunks of time here. So Jimbo, he loves this roof, obviously, and he's pretty good in it.
Yeah, he certainly is. I'm just looking at the timing and scoring here. So Jimbo is about 2 minutes 20 behind the overall leader, which is Ryan Toma. Ryan Otis in second place is 2 minutes 32, so that's 12 seconds. He's adrift of Jimbo Pfeiffer, and that is not going to become any less because Jimbo is lapping faster. Not that much faster than Ryan Otis, I must say, only a tenth or two in it, but certainly still lapping faster. Ryan Worley is lapping in the 145s, so he's not going to catch these other two. So that's your top three in this class, and it certainly looks as if Jimbo is looking good for a win. If he can keep everything together for the next hour or more, he should be looking good for a win here.
And I'll tell you what, Richard, you hit the nail right on the head. Stephen Ellis is putting in some of the fastest laps of the race so far. He wants that lead back from Ryan Toma.
Absolutely. I'm looking, his last lap time by the line was a 1:39.2 compared to Ryan Toma's 1:40. So that is something like 0.8 of a second faster. He will catch him if he keeps doing these kinds of lap times.
Yeah, well, the action has certainly simmered down for right now, but we can tell it's about to pick up in about a few minutes, so we're just going to let these few minutes pass with another break, and we'll be right back, and maybe we'll even see a lead change when we return. Well, Ryan Thomas has put in the fastest lap of a race now, a 98.8. Stephen Ellis, though, was doing well to keep up with him. But then Richard, about half a lap ago, he just threw it all away with a spin in the first turn. Richard Wedstep back up into second position.
Correct. But now we have a battle on because you can see Richard Wedstep just ahead of Stephen Ellis. And these two are battling for overall second position. So Kevin, this has sparked a lot of new interest in this race right there, because we have a battle on here for second place.
Not sure Kevin's with us right now, but yeah, we certainly do, Richard, and just shows you anything can happen. Still not halfway in this race. Ryan Thomas currently has a 13-second lead over this battle.
Well, Ryan Thomas has he's absolutely done some amazing stuff. In the beginning of the race, it looked like Stephen Ellis was the one to beat. But as you mentioned just previously, Ryan Thomas currently has the fastest lap time in this race. Richard Wedstep and Stephen Ellis' fastest times are roughly the same. Stephen has only got about 3/10, less than 3/10, it's 3/100 in fact faster than Richard Wedstep. So those are just their fastest laps. It's not showing their consistent time. But as far as times go, Ryan is leading by 13 seconds. Stephen Ellis is 1 second behind Richard Wedstep. So we still have a battle here. But if you look on track right now, Samuel, you'll see that Richard Wedstep has extended his gap on Stephen Ellis quite significantly.
And actually, there's an even closer battle going on right now in the DP fields between Tracy Reynolds and Jack Longris. It's only a half a second right now as they approach the International Horseshoe, Samuel.
As you said it there, Jack Longris spins his car. Kevin, stay away from these
That's
poor
Ryan
drivers.
Thomas. That's Ryan Thomas that's involved in that spin, guys.
Well, he had spun previously. He must have spun previously. I don't think, we'll have to get a replay of that, because I don't think that Jack Longris touched him until he was already standing still.
No, it looks like Ryan spun just trying to avoid. Yeah, it looks like Ryan Thomas just spun trying to avoid Jack Longris.
Top three cars now on the same straight.
This is excellent stuff. We have a race, guys, and you know, I don't wish ill on any of the drivers, but bringing them closer together is very good news for the race.
Yeah, meanwhile, we did have a GT car put in the wall about a lap ago. Ray Nelson looks like he's out of the race. But right now, here's where the action is. It's up front. The top three DP cars, all within sight of one another, Kevin.
Yeah, you said it looks like on track right now. Richard Wedstep is trailing Ryan Thomas by about 1.7 seconds. Stephen Ellis about 2.3 behind. It sounds like we have yet another battle in the roof field, Samuel.
Yes, once again, between Barnes and Clemens, these two drivers have been inseparable during this race. Clemens still in front. This is for a battle for 5th place in the GT field. They're coming back out into the banking right now, but honestly, I think it's going to take a couple of laps for Barnes to run them down. I want to get back up front here because Ryan Wedstep is catching up with Thomas.
Yeah, looks like it. Looks like it. The gap is now visible. Kevin, sorry to cut you.
No, that's quite all right, Richard. Definitely the gap has closed down very much. It's only about a half second on track right now as Ryan Thomas is still in the lead. But, you know, once again, he's had a spin and he's struggling with that car as Richard Wedstep goes very deep into the International Horseshoe.
Yes, he does. And that will lose him a little bit of time. I am very impressed with Ryan Thomas coming back from some early setbacks to lead this race and to have the fastest time in the race at this point in time, still a 138.8. But certainly Wedstep has got the bit between his teeth. They go into the final turn before the banking, and you can see that Ryan Thomas shoots away. Richard Wedstep struggling a little bit for grip coming back onto the banking there, but now he should be close enough to be in the draft, and we'll see if he can catch up. In the meantime, Stephen Ellis just behind these two. Well, he's a little further back, Kevin, so he has a bit of more work to do to catch up to these two.
Yeah, he needs Stephen Ellis. That is, needs a couple more tenths to gain on Richard Wedstead and Ryan Tama before he starts to smell that draft of Richard Wedstead. But because that's definitely what Richard Wedstead is doing right now, is he's closing up several tenths out of the bus stop. He's in that draft of Ryan Tama, looking good for a run onto turn one. But there is GT traffic in front of him.
Yeah, but it certainly could happen. Meanwhile, the quick update on the rough battle. Clemens had another slowdown penalty, but this is where the action is right now. Ryan Toma and Richard Wedford, and Richard, the tail end, steps out a little bit on that DP, but Ryan Toma doesn't make a brilliant execution of a first turn either, and that's gonna make Stephen Ellis close in a little bit, Richard. Seems we may have lost Richard right now, but meanwhile, Ryan Thomas still leads Richard Wedstead, and certainly, Kevin, with everything that's been going on, shouldn't these drivers just calm down and tell themselves not to make a mistake, or do you think Richard wants P1?
I wouldn't be surprised if Richard wants that P1 at all, and as well, they may be trying to force each other into a mistake. But the net result is they may cause each other to crash. So you know, they need to smarten up a little bit. I think we're still only about halfway into 2.5 hour race, so they definitely need to clear up. Whereas unfortunately, Stephen Ellis has gotten caught by GT traffic. He's lost 2 seconds plus to the battle for the lead.
Yeah, and I am back, guys. I apologize. I didn't have my microphone button on while I was talking, so that's why I got kind of lost there. You said it, Kevin. Stephen Ellis got a fair bit of work to do. In fact, he's losing out. Luckily, though, we are 1 hour and 15 minutes into this race.
Battle for the lead.
Time. Go on.
Yeah, Richard is looking to the outside of Ryan Thomas. What kind of fight is Ryan going to give? It doesn't look like he's going to give a fight at all. He's already a car length behind. If he wanted to, he could have ducked up high and got the slipstream. Oh, he is going to get a bit of a fight. They're both getting a little bit squirrely on the brakes. Ryan takes it back. Back to you, Richard.
Yes, that was very important. What it's shown us right there is that Ryan Toma doesn't want to give up this lead now that he's got it. So he challenged strongly, was on the inside going to turn one. Very, very risky driving by both drivers there. They both got squirrely, as you said, Samuel. But Ryan Thomas still leads. Richard Wedstead now is, they go through the Western Horseshoe, and Ryan Thomas shoots away. It seems like Richard Wedstead struggles a little bit for grip coming through these infield corners, Kevin.
Yeah, it looks like I just want to make one comment on turn one. It is very difficult to pass on the outside under braking, as Richard Wedstead was doing last time around, but it can be done. You can do it. You just have to have faith in the car and your own abilities.
Well, Kevin, you hit the nail on the head there. You have to have faith in your abilities. A lot of guys will start the move and then lose faith in themselves, as both these drivers now come up to, I believe that's Ryan Worley in the roof car ahead of them. You've got to have faith in your abilities. You've got to once you've stuck your nose in, you've got to go with it. Otherwise, trying to back out in the middle of a turn is probably the worst thing you can do.
Yep, I see. Go ahead, Samuel.
I was going to say, as these guys navigate their way by Ryan Worley, just to give you an idea of the pace of these leaders, the next car in front of them is Tracy Reynolds, who is 5th overall. These top 3 cars are in a league of their own today, Kevin.
They are, and you can see that they're pushing themselves even harder by running close to each other. You know, that battle's making them go faster, and that's bad news for the rest of the field.
Yeah, and I have to say that Stephen Ellis is losing out completely because these two guys in front of him, Ryan Toma and Richard Wedstead, are in the draft of each other. They, even though they're not actually battling at this stage, they're just running close together. So what it's doing is it's drawing both of them away from Stephen Ellis, who currently is doing 141s, and these guys are in the 40s at the moment. So Stephen is not catching them, and unless he has some different plan up his sleeve, bearing in mind, if I'm not mistaken, Kevin, there's still another round of pit stops to go.
Yes, Richard, there is still one more pit stop that they're going to have to serve. So, and we know that Ryan Thomas stopped very early relative to Richard Wedstead. So, at this rate, as long as Richard doesn't put it in the wall, he should get to serve a couple of laps when Ryan pits.
And Richard is pushing that car very hard. Sorry, Samuel. He is pushing that car so hard, he nearly lost it in the bus stop there.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing, Richard. Kevin tacked on to the end of his message there, as long as Richard doesn't put it in the wall. Well, I've got to admit, he's almost done that twice this lap, Richard.
I'm reading the message. We can't broadcast that, unfortunately. But it's true what you're saying there, Kevin.
Well, we definitely would like to see this as a great club, the Northwest Club. There's a lot of great drivers in it, a lot of great action with some great admins like Mike Willett and Chris Beck and Joshua Gardner, who all spend a lot of time and effort to run a bunch of these leagues. And just kind of, we were hoping a little bit that some more Northwest Club members would show up and run this event. So, guys, if you're watching and you're not racing, get out here and race the next round.
Absolutely. It's a great league. Sorry, Samuel, you go ahead.
Yeah, I know they have a Saturday night truck series at about 9:15 p.m. Ran by Chris Beck, and also they have a Monday night road series, I believe, ran by Josh Gardner, and the races go green there at 8:50 p.m. So look up a Northwest Club League Racing and become a part of it, Richard.
Absolutely. What needs to happen in this league is it needs to attract some more drivers, and perhaps some drivers that have good speed in both these cars. Great cars to drive in any league. Let me tell you, there are lots of leagues out there that do run these cars. There's official races that run both these cars. The roof is a big attraction, so get out and race. As we see, Kevin, the battle is hot for position number 1 right now.
Yeah, look at that draft that Richard Wedstead has. He is under the rear wing of Ryan Thomas, and we are on board right now with Wedstead. Wedstead's going to do, he's staying tucked under. Ryan Thomas not showing what he wants to do. Ryan definitely looking to stay low. Is Wedstead going to pull to the outside? Not yet. Samuel, what's he going to do?
It looks like he's going to stay there, and I wonder if that's a smart idea, because if they begin battling each other, that could mean that Stephen Ellis could close in on them, Kevin.
Well, Stephen Ellis has gained a couple of tenths. He's now sitting about 6.2, 6.3 seconds live on track, and that was about 7.5 a few laps ago. So Stephen Ellis is plugging away hard.
Yeah, he's working hard, but he's got a lot of work to do still. Very wise, I thought, there of Richard Wedstead to just back out a little. He's closing back up again now, and no doubt will close back up significantly once they get onto the oval. But I have to say, these guys are racing smart, they're racing fast, and it's a good spectacle for the viewers.
Oh, big half spin from Richard Wedstead through the bumps on turn 6. He just lost a lot of time, lost at least a second there to Ryan Thomas. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, that can happen so easily. I have to say, particularly in the roof car, coming onto the oval there, the car bounces around. Go ahead.
Jack Longgrass running 5th in the DP class and overall has spun around coming out onto the oval circuit. He might be able to get away without getting any damage or losing any positions though. Back to you, Richard.
Yeah, well, you know, that's going to happen in a long race like this. People lose concentration for a second. We did see Richard Wedstead go very close to spinning that car there. He lost some time, but he's gaining that time back up again, hand over fist, Kevin. The draft is awesome on this oval. As they go now into turn 1, we had a roof car staying wide there to give them both. He's closed right up again.
Yeah, he has. You know, I think Ryan Thomas has been out long enough that those tires are pretty much shot. I think he's close to the end of the fuel stint. So looks like, you know, he's really struggling through the bus stop, which you really need the grippiest tires you can have there. And he's really struggling there. And Richard Wedstead has dropped within a third of a second once again.
Yeah, I think this is the time to capitalize. Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, a couple of updates on pit road. We've already seen one driver make a second stop. I'm not sure if they can make it to the end. That was Tracy Reynolds. And also Skip is currently in the pits after putting it in the wall about a couple of laps ago in turn 1. Ryan Thomas getting loose as they come out onto the oval circuit. This could be the opportunity Richard's looking for, Richard. But he's boxed in behind the GT car.
That's right. He would have gone clean by if he hadn't had that car in front. But he's stuck right up again, Kevin. So let's see what happens as they're going to the bus stop.
And Wedsted's going to not force the issue into the bus stop, eases off before the braking zone, allows Ryan Thomas to close up a little bit, but he's looking for that good run out. Gets puts it into the wall!
Oh, and he gets tagged in the rear as well by the roof car. That is some serious damage. He will have to pit, and hopefully he still has a quick repair left, Kevin. Otherwise, his day's pretty well done.
And that was Matthew Saboski in the roof, who was having a fast but quiet run with that unfortunate timing error. Lap down, caught up in that. Oh boy, Richard Wedsted, he was pushing it hard, just a little too aggressive in the second half of the bus stop.
And he almost took out Stephen Ellis as he was getting his car corrected. Now, I've got to admit, guys, that the good thing about this is that he was only a couple of turns away from the pits. He's going to come in and get that damage repaired with a quick repair. He could still pull out a third place finish from this.
If he has a quick repair left, that's the big question right now.
He absolutely should, because he's only been in pit lane once, so he may have used up one, but at the very worst, he should get one right here.
Look at that car's got no front on it at all, got no back on it. It's a wreck. Yeah, and it's fully fixed.
And Matthew Saboski, his toe must be knocked out or something, because he's coming in the pits, his car's handling not well at all. Now, this is a shame, because I was trying to calculate, if we're correct in that iRacing timing and scoring made a mistake, Matthew Saboski would have been running third in the GT class.
Yeah, that's right, and we'll see how that works out. I'm sure Mike Willett and the other IRT members will have a look at that for sure, because I'm sure they don't want a driver to lose out simply because of an iRacing mistake. But the good news is, folks, Richard Wedsted is back on track. He has a car that is fully fixed, and he is still in third place according to the scoring and timing. So let's see what happens as we go ahead. He's 27 seconds back from the leader, but bear in mind that Ryan Thomas and Stephen Ellis do have to pit again, if I'm not mistaken, Samuel.
And I'm going to jump in there. You just kind of mentioned Richard Wedsted may have actually kind of gotten a little bit lucky there, because not only did he have that fast repair, but I think he may be able to have enough fuel to go to the end of the race.
Yes, I think you're right, Kevin, because that was about time for the second pit window to start. They have got, it's 1 hour 27 minutes from 2 hours 24. That's pretty much an hour though, Kevin.
It's going to be nip and tuck, that's for sure.
But he may have enough to get to the end, and if that is the case, then he is sitting pretty at the moment. 27 seconds. He'll make that up in a pit stop if the other guys have to pit, and he doesn't. So it remains to be seen how it's going to work out. But he is sitting in a good position. I wouldn't be too worried if I was him. Mind you, you might want to think about conserving fuel straight away.
Yeah, certainly, but I mean, worst case scenario, providing he doesn't bin it again, it looks like a third place finish is the worst he's going to get. I'll tell you what, these quick repairs have certainly been generous, and I've kind of liked it, Kevin, that they've had quick repairs in this race, but at the same time, no caution flags. That means that if you crash, you do have to pay a penalty, and that you have to limp around the pit road, get your repairs done, and then get back out on the track. But at the same time, you're not completely out of a race. Providing you put on fast laps and don't make a mistake again, you can get back in it.
And speaking of putting down fast laps and not making a mistake, Stephen Ellis has been doing just that. He's closed up to just a little bit more than 5 seconds behind Ryan Thomas, so that gap has slowly been closing up. So Stephen Ellis just needs to keep putting down good laps, and as soon as Ryan Thomas pits and serves his pit stop, Stephen Ellis will take over the lead.
I really would have thought Richard Wedsted would have learned his lesson from that mistake a couple laps ago. I was just watching him through the bus stop that lap. He had all four wheels off at one of the parts. He was very lucky not to get a slowdown penalty. I really think he needs to slow down in that corner of the circuit, Kevin, because we kept talking about how we were seeing Richard making mistakes, and finally one bit him, he really can't afford to see it happen again.
No, you said it, but you know that's kind of the nature of running the Riley at Daytona. You want to run a very little wing, and you wind up kind of sliding the car around a lot, and you don't really have a lot of room for mistakes. And you know, when you start getting a little tired, it's easy to make a mistake. It's easy to put it into a wall.
As we saw, less than an hour to go, but still fatigue could set in.
Oh, and Richard Wetstead, sorry there, my friend. Richard Wetstead narrowly missed another DP driver, not quite sure who that was, coming out of the International Horseshoe, and if he had touched him there, it would have been all over Red Rover.
Jeff Graham, I believe that was. I'm trying to get a replay on it right now, but I saw Jeff Graham involved in a collision with Skip. I'm not sure if that's the incident you were referring to.
No, Jeff Graham had a solo spin. Skip also had a solo spin a little bit further up on the track. But yeah, that was the incident. Jeff Graham spun, and Richard Wetstead a little lucky to get through that one.
Stephen Ellis just shaved another 0.4 of a second of Ryan Thomas's lead last lap. But Richard, the last time this happened, the last time Stephen was running the leader down and he got within about 3 seconds, he spun it at turn 1. So Stephen's got to keep a cool head too.
Absolutely. At the moment, my timing and scoring showing him almost exactly 5 seconds behind, and Richard Wetstead miles behind the two of them. So he could do it. He has to keep that cool head, as you said, because if you chuck it into the wall or onto the grass and have a spin, that won't help your cause at all. But 5 seconds is doable. There's still a lot of time left, and he is putting down some really good laps there. So let's see what happens as we just drive with him for a little while and see how he goes through very neatly through the bus stop there. So at this point in time, all looking good.
So looking very good for Stephen. We got about 57 minutes left to go, and everyone's got to make one more pit stop. They're certainly within the pit window now, Kevin.
I believe so, that they are definitely in the pit window. I'm with you, but, you know, I'm always willing to be proven wrong, you know, so 50 minutes for sure, it's absolute, but so they just need a couple more minutes, I think.
Yeah, certainly, to be sure, I'm not quite sure exactly how far they can go, but if it's around the 1 hour mark, you know, drivers tend to think that 2 minutes, 3 minutes, either way doesn't make a lot of difference. But we've seen so many times, all of us, how that 2 or 3 minutes make all the difference. Guys running out of fuel meters from the start-finish line at the end of a race. So it's very, very important to calculate that fuel correctly, Kevin.
Meanwhile, Richard, can I just butt in for a second here? Our leaders are about to catch a heavy bit of lap traffic, Kevin. Back to you.
Yeah, and Stephen Ellis keeps shaving time off. It's now about 2.8 seconds live on track behind Ryan Tama. So definitely that GT car that Ryan Tama has in front of him here in the bus stop may come to a problem. Nope, Ryan Tama is going to hold up. He's not sure what he's going to do. Brake lights glowing for both cars. The GT spins in the way of Stephen Ellis, but looks like that all got cleared up there, Samuel.
Yeah, that's Brian Barnes, is still running in 6th place in the GT class. Didn't lose any spots, but certainly one less car that these drivers have to worry about. Matthew Sabowski up next as they come down to turn 1. He's going to pull out the way, and Ryan Thomas, though, isn't going to try and pass him. Ryan Thomas into the pits.
Interesting.
Well, we knew it had to happen. We expected it had to happen soon, so definitely a chance for Ryan Tama to get his last set of tires, last bit of fuel, and away he'll go.
Maybe he saw that lap traffic in front, Kevin, and thought, I don't want to deal with this, let's pit now.
Well, I gotta admit, I find it hard to believe that he could have gone much further, because I think his pit stop was on about lap 16 or so. So, you know, it was on lap 20. So even still, about 34 laps. That's a long time in this car.
Yeah, and of course I want to see where he comes out in relation to Richard Wetstead. Richard coming out of turn 4 right now, Richard.
That is correct. I have got the cameras on Richard Wetstead. He is coming down towards turn 1 right now, going into turn 1 as we speak. Where is Ryan Toma? Has he exited the pits yet?
He is in the International Horseshoe.
So just ahead, yes, I see him now. Just ahead, there's a car in between, and that car is in fact Jack Longeris. Then we have Ryan Thomas. So now
Wetstead almost spun it. Richard Wetstead almost spun the car in the International Horseshoe, trying to catch up. He got it completely sideways on exit, but kept the car pointed in the right direction in the end.
Unbelievable. The moment I take the camera off him, he does something wrong there, but he's still in it. He's just getting onto the banking right now, or well, on the turn to the banking. So he has got a sniff now, Kevin, and let's see what happens, because, mind you, he still has to pit, doesn't he?
Well, we're not sure.
No. We were talking about how he might not have to pit again, so this is interesting.
Yep, the only guy we know for sure certain who still has to pit amongst the top 3 is Stephen Ellis, but he's got that 43-second gap that may be enough. It may be not enough to put him back in the lead. So this battle for first, second, and third is on absolutely 100%.
And he's certainly doing the right thing, Stephen Ellis. He just ran the 99.0. He's got a clean track now once he gets by this Ryan Otis in the GT car in front of him. So Stephen Ellis now doesn't have any pressure from behind or in front. He's just going for it and hopes that when he comes out the pits, he'll be in the lead, Richard.
Well, that is interesting. You're quite right. Stephen Ellis just did a 1 minute 39.0. The other two, Toma has come out of the pit, so he's got a wrongish looking time there. But Richard Wetstead, a 141, that's 2 seconds. And if they are both... well, I don't know, Kevin. This is still difficult to calculate with Steven still having to pit.
Yep, that's why I'm just going to let it unfold. But I am looking right now. I'm watching some action a little further back for 18th and 19th overall. That's Cliff Kayer and Ray Nelson, who are sitting about a second apart on track. But it's been about that spot for a good several laps now. So they're having a good run, just keeping it clean right now.
Yeah, we're looking for a good battle somewhere along the way. Not seeing anything at this point, barring what's happening at the front. So let's just have a look around. You were going to say something there, Samuel?
I've got to admit, I think the right decision for this race was to take a DP car, considering how big the GT field has been. Oh, and there's a spinner, Richard Wetstead is into the wall again, and there is no coming back from that one. Just too hot through the bus stop, into the wall on the outside, the right side of that car's torn up. He might still be able to persevere with a third place finish, but the win is out of a question.
That is absolutely tragic for Richard Wetstead. He has done so well in this race for so long, and to chuck it into the wall right now, he does not have any repairs left. He's still got a bit of speed on him. He's heading towards the pits. I will have a look and see what happens to the poor guy when he comes out of the pits. Does he get a repair or not? It may be he's still got the one repair left, but I doubt it.
Ryan Toma, remember, pit a little while ago. Ellis still has to make one more pit stop, so we're still not sure who's going to win this race. Fourth place in DP is David Warner, who's about 40 seconds back of Wetstead right now. And so, yeah, the big question is going to be, does Wetstead still have a repair left?
And I can tell you he does not. He's currently sitting there being serviced. Oh!
He's out, Richard. He's out.
He's out. And his car looks whole. Sorry, Kevin, go ahead.
No, I just saying the same things you were. It looks like Richard Wetstead got his second repair, so he never used his first one up. So that is good news for Richard Wetstead. It's going to be a tough ask for him to get into the lead, but he still definitely should have third place, and maybe if he's a little lucky.
No, he's lost it. He is about 4 seconds or so back of David Warner's, now your new third place driver.
Well, I got to tell you, I will take what's happened to Richard Wetstead any day. You know, it still keeps me in the race. It keeps me running. even if I'm only going to make 4th place, I'm going to get some championship points. Remember, this is a long championship, 12 races, so this is race number 1. A lot of racing to go still before the end of this series, so he is a very fortunate person, I would believe. Kevin, sorry.
Yeah, and guys, we need to update everybody watching at home, because Jimbo Pfeiffer and Ryan Otis, we haven't been paying attention to that battle because it was a pretty big gap. Well, Ryan Otis has closed it up to 4 seconds behind Jimbo Pfeiffer for the roof lead.
And I've got to correct myself on the battle for 3rd. David Warner has yet to make his 2nd stop, so Richard should still be able to retain 3rd position.
Whoa, and we have a car in the wall that's just coming out. Poor old Kyle Clemens, that is. Kyle Clemens into the wall, very, very hard. Smoking car right now. Did it all by himself as well, Samuel.
And he was running 4th in the GT. That is a big shame, because that would be big points for him had he been able to pull that off.
Yeah, quite correct, but he may still have a quick repair left. I don't know. We haven't been paying all that much attention, which we will correct. We will be looking a lot more now in this latter part of the race at the GT class, or the C2 class, I guess we call it, and see what goes on. So I've got the cameras on Mr. Clemens. Let us see if he gets a quick repair or not.
Yeah, meanwhile, keeping half an eye on Wedstead running up behind Warner. Not that I think this will be a huge issue, because Warner still has a scheduled stop left to make. The advantage, of course, of him running this long is that when he does pit, he won't have to take that much fuel. But providing Wedstead doesn't put it in the wall again, knock on wood, he should be able to pick off a 3rd place finish here, Kevin.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Right now, he's just hoping that Ryan Thomas and Stephen Ellis, I guess, find each other on track and take each other out. So Wedstead still could win this. But, you know, again, I've been keeping eyes on this Otis-Pfeiffer battle. And last lap, Ryan Otis was 2 seconds faster than Jimbo Pfeiffer. But Jimbo Pfeiffer has responded and gotten himself back another second on this lap alone.
I wonder
hey guys,
I
got to jump in here. You go ahead, Samuel, but I've got a little interesting anecdote when I come back.
I was just going to make a quick note. I really don't know what happened to Pfeiffer. He was absolutely dominating this race, and Otis has ran him down, so I don't know what the story is there. Maybe it's something recent. Ellis spins out of the first corner now. This isn't going to change anything immediately, but what it does mean is that when he comes out of the pits, most likely Ryan Thomas is going to be in the lead. Anyway, back to your anecdote, Richard.
Yeah, I want to talk about Kyle Clemens. He went into the pits as we mentioned. He did get a quick repair, but it was so funny to see. There was this huge puff of smoke. You couldn't even see the car, and all of a sudden he takes off out of this pall of smoke with a brand new car. So it was like a magic thing that happened there, and poof, he's got a new car out of all that chaos. So good on him. He's back on track, going strong again. Good to see.
That's called getting it done, son. But Stephen, my terrible American impression. Stephen Ellis, I'm looking at the timing now. 31 seconds over Ryan Thomas. Mind you, he's going to be able to short fuel on these final stop, but I think Ryan, unless Stephen's able to build up his lead again, will have the lead once Stephen comes into the pits, Kevin.
Yeah, I agree with you, Samuel. That's about 31, 32 seconds on track. I just don't think that's enough to come into that long pit lane and get that fuel and get back out without surrendering the lead.
Well, guys, just quickly an update on Mr. Clemens. He's just spun his car again, going into turn 1. So not sure where he is. He's still in 1, 2, 3, 4, about 5th or 6th place. So, you know, he's going to get some points out of this, but he's not having the greatest race, I must say.
Our GT leaders into the pits, Jimbo Pfeiffer, which of course will temporarily give Ryan Otis the lead. Now we're going to have to take a look at what kind of pit stop Jimbo gets. Now I can inform you that before, Ryan had a quicker stop than Jimbo, so maybe that's one of the reasons why he's been able to catch up with him a little bit. So we're going to have to see what kind of stop Jimbo gets and, you know, see where it goes from there, Kevin.
Yeah, that's right. That last time by it was Ryan Otis had about a second and a half longer or shorter, excuse me, pit stop than Jimbo Pfeiffer. But we see Pfeiffer's in pit lane right now and filling up, probably getting a full tank or at least a lot of fuel because there's about another 45 minutes to go in this race. But Richard Wedstead, I just watched having a little issues with traffic, trying to get around Ray Nelson, and took him a long time to be able to do that.
Well, Jimbo Pfeiffer's just coming out of the pits now, and not sure where Ryan Otis is at this point. I'll check, but certainly that was a normal pit stop. Didn't see him taking any tires there, which was quite strange. Maybe that happened before I switched to his car in the pits, but he's back on track and traveling again, and looks like he's coming out in what we would say is second place, but in reality he's probably still leading that class.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he did take tyres because they lift the GT cars up on air jacks, so all four wheels go into the air at the same time. However, I would like to note that it was actually a pretty fast stop by Jimbo. Now, of course, it doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be a faster stop than Ryan's stop, but it was a much better stop by Jimbo than when he pitted his first time around, Kevin.
Yeah, and that pit stop, it was about 37.7 seconds. His first pit stop was 43.3, as I recall, so almost 6 seconds faster. So, yeah, that's definitely an improvement. But as you said, will Ryan Otis be faster in pit lane again?
Yeah, I can tell you that he did take tires. I've gone back and had a look. So he did take a set of tires. As we see him go through the bus stop, and there's a car sitting there. Chris Beck obviously had a spin. Lots of spins that we're looking at here, Kevin. Very unusual for good quality drivers such as we have here to be spinning around so much.
Well, you know, it is a difficult track. We're an hour and 40-something minutes into the race, so, you know, maybe attention span's fading a little bit. Fatigue has set in. Drivers just a little more prone to make mistakes, I guess, Richard.
Yeah, you're probably right. And that worries me because I will be doing 2 Daytona races of this very same length in the not-too-distant future. And I'm telling you, I'm soaking up all the information that I can hear from these guys, even though I won't be racing in this type of car. Everything else still is pretty much the same as far as strategy and as far as, you know, everything else goes that we speak about.
What would you say has been the biggest thing you've learned watching this race, Richard?
I just think missed opportunities. You know, you have guys like all 3 of them, Stephen Ellis, Ryan Thomas, and Richard Wedstead, all leading this race at various times and all making huge mistakes, which has given the lead up to someone else.
And into the pits comes Ryan Otis. Now, I don't think, no matter how quick this stop is, he will be able to do enough to get in front of Jimbo Pfeiffer, but he may be able to do enough to get right behind Jimbo Pfeiffer, and we could have a battle for the GT win at the end of a race. Remember, we still got 40 minutes left, so as Richard said, missed opportunities. Anything can happen in these final 40 minutes, Kevin.
Yeah, absolutely right. But just keeping an eye on Ryan Otis right now. I'm desperately eager to see where he's going to come out on track. So he's still getting fuel. He's about 25 seconds into his pit stop, so still a bit left here to go, Samuel.
Yeah, 35 seconds was Jimbo's stop. Jimbo going by right now. And this is a longer stop by Ryan. About 37 seconds. 2 seconds longer than Jimbo's stop. So that's going to hurt him a little bit, but still 41 minutes left to go, Kevin. It's not over yet.
Oh boy, you know, that sequence has hurt Ryan Otis. He's now about 10 seconds behind Jimbo Pfeiffer. So Jimbo definitely had the better pit cycle sequence.
Yeah, definitely. So a victory for each of them, but ultimately it seems that Jimbo has been faster car of the day. Now, we've got to give a shout out to the leader of the GT race right now. It's actually Ryan Worley, but of course he's still got to make another stop.
You're right. He does have to make another stop, but he is in the lead of that field. So he's been having a pretty quiet run, but he's worked himself up into third place. Didn't have the best qualifying that I think he would have preferred. But yeah, as we said, he's worked himself up into the top 3 in the GT field.
Meanwhile, to keep you updated on the lead of the DP field, Stephen has been able to pull out a couple more seconds on Ryan Thomas. It's up to 32 seconds now. But Richard, I still don't think that's enough for Stephen to pit and come back out in the lead.
That's going to make things interesting. We do want to see some close racing, which we have seen at times in this race, but not a lot of it. As we see Ryan Worley coming into the pits now, guys. So he's coming in for his final pit stop. Let's see what he does, and let's hope for some close racing as we get towards the end of this race, which, mind you, has never disappointed us. There's always been something that happens to give us a close race to the end. Let's hope this is the case this time as well.
Yeah, well, I really want to see where Ryan's going to come out in relation to the GT cars before we step away for anything else. Seeing Chris Bland come around the circuit here, looks like he's going to go by. Ryan's still got about 10 more seconds left of his stop. He should... I really don't know where he's going to come out. It's going to be about 6 or 7.
Our overall leader, Stephen Ellis, he's in pit lane as well right now.
Alright, so it's all happening, as Richard Losper would say, because when Stephen Ellis comes out of the pits, I think we'll have a new leader in Ryan Thomas. But Stephen will have about 37 minutes to run them down. Right as Stephen pulls in, Ryan comes out. And Ryan Worley has came out ahead. I'm not really sure where he is in position.
Hey, Samuel, you know, Stephen Ellis had to back his car up to get into his pit stall. You just cannot afford to make mistakes like that at this time of a race in your final pit stop. He comes back out now, obviously did not take tires by the looks of things, but made that mistake going into the pit stall. Now he nearly spins the car coming out of the pit. So come on, Stephen, let's see what happens.
And Ryan Thomas did take back the overall lead, and in GT field, Jimbo Pfeiffer is back in first, Ryan Otis second, Ryan Worley third.
Yeah, I was about to make a note of that. Ryan Worley, I said that I saw Chris Bland going by Ryan Worley on the track, and that was for position. Well, technically, yes, Chris Bland is the next car behind Ryan, but he's just about a lap behind. So Ryan was able to keep that position and is third in GT.
And there's a spinner in front of Ryan Thomas. A DP car spun in front of Ryan Thomas. It looks like Ryan hit him, Samuel.
I'm about to go back and take a look. I do see a bit of damage on the left front. Now, the car in question was actually a DP car of Jeff Graham, who he was coming the lap. A tiny bit of damage to the left front of Ryan Thomas' car. I don't know if it's going to be enough to make a difference, but certainly going to make it. It's certainly going to be something to watch out for, Kevin.
Yeah, that is not what Ryan wanted to see right there. He's definitely been struggling, he definitely didn't want to be struggling with aero grip right now. So we'll have to see if that's affecting him at all.
Meanwhile, Carl Clemens, who we kept keeping an eye on throughout the race, has retired. I'm going back. He was involved in a collision with Ray Fournier in the McLaren. So Carl Clemens is now out of the race.
Yep, there are quite a few guys out of the race. My timing and scoring showing about 4 drivers out of the race at the moment. I can report, guys, that Ryan Thomas has damage on the left front of his car. Whether that's going to impede his speed in any way, I am not sure. We'll have to wait and see by looking at some lap times. But he is leading this race from Stephen Ellis currently by around 9 seconds. So Stephen really did not have a good pit stop there, and that's caused him all kinds of problems. He may have, come out maybe a couple of seconds earlier, 2-3 seconds earlier, and have a 6-second gap. But he's got a lot of work to do. Richard Wedstead, by contrast, is way back now and has lost any opportunity of taking home a podium, well, a first or second place. He may still be on the podium, as I'm seeing David Warner behind Richard Wedstead. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Yes,
but
it
he's only had one stop.
Ah, so he still has to stop. Okay, so that means that, well, we'll have to see how this all shakes out. Back to you, Samuel. You were going to go to a break or something, weren't you?
Yeah, we are about to go to a break. Quick note, Jeff Graham just spun in the bus stop, running 6th in the DP class, has made both his stops, but back on track without losing any position. So we're going to go to a break. Ryan Thomas is your DP leader right now. Jimbo Pfeiffer is your GT leader. Welcome back to Daytona International Speedway. Two battles on track right now. One is in the GT class as battle between John Brown and Cliff Kayer is certainly on as they come around NASCAR 4. Down to the front stretch could be a battle for position here. And they've both taken multiple pit stops. They're both several laps down, but still running in solid positions. Cliff going to look down to the inside of John, and they go 3 wide around Chris Capon, who's lapped car. And it certainly worked for the other Cliff Kayer. Meanwhile, the other battle we've been keeping an eye on is the battle for the overall lead. Currently, 5.5 seconds separates Ryan Thomas and Stephen Ellis, but Richard, that's a lot less than what it was before.
Yes, that's true, Samuel. And you know, I was watching Ryan Thomas during the break. He so nearly clipped one of the C2 cars, the roof car, and that would have certainly have thrown away his chances. That did slow him down going through some of that lap traffic, and that has allowed Stephen Ellis to catch up a little bit of time. He's still got 7 odd seconds to go to catch up, so we don't have a race on for first place at this point in time. The other good news for Richard Wedstead is that he's 56 seconds back. I recall not that many laps ago he was something like 1 minute and 23, so he's made up some time as well.
Yeah, but I don't think he's got enough laps left. I don't think he would ever have enough laps left to catch up 54 seconds. Meanwhile, not sure if we mentioned this before we went to break, but Carl Clemens has retired from the race. And really, it hasn't been as much of a race of attrition as I thought. We've only had about 3 or 4 retirements. So these guys putting on a solid show here today, Kevin.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the official iRacing Road Warrior Series, I think, had about 40% disqualification, or DNF rate, I should say, did not finish rate. So the official series, we're definitely seeing much higher attrition rate than this series is. So that's a nice testament of drivers, you know, actually staying clean, as it looks like that battle for 17th overall is back on there, Sammy.
Yes, and certainly the biggest battle on the track right now. They are working their way up to the International Horseshoe with Cliff Calea in front, but John Brown certainly not letting him escape out of his headlights too much. They're going through this left-hander kink right now to what I believe is called the Western Horseshoe, pretty much a 180-degree right-hander. You see John take a wide entry to try and get a better exit. But really, this isn't the overtaking opportunity he wants to be looking for. The best overtaking opportunities he's got going right now are into the bus stop and into turn 1, Richard.
Yeah, it's still a good battle to be watching, though. Now they should close up in the draft, I should say, as they go down towards the bus stop again. John is now catching him, as does tend to happen after they come out of that corner. Now, who can get the better run through the bus stop here? John's right behind him. Would have preferred him to be a little further back, which meant he could have maybe have got a cleaner entrance, because there'll be some very dirty air that he's had to work through there. But now he does close up. They've still got a long way to go to turn 1. So let's see if he's brave enough to take the opportunity to make a pass here, Samuel.
Yeah, and he's going to attempt it on the outside. We were talking to his son earlier, Kevin Brown, saying that he certainly thought that's something that's possible. Meanwhile, the DP car behind them backing off, realising there's a battle going on. He's in a race of his own, and John Brown overshoots turn 1, but is able to keep it on the track. So I guess he didn't overshoot. I guess Cliff just undershot it, and John Brown takes the position. Meanwhile, there's a battle going on for 9th position right behind him between Chris Beck in the DP car and Ryan Otis in the GT. Certainly not a big deal as far as points are concerned, but still fun to watch, Kevin.
Yeah, and that's going on exactly right behind the battle we were just watching. So we're seeing Ryan Otis being very good under brakes in the infield compared to Chris Beck. So having a good run, but tough to get around him when you can't outpower the car on these big, huge honking straights.
Yeah, certainly not. Meanwhile, a quick update on the battle for the lead. It's down to 4 seconds now. Stephen Ellis certainly reeling Ryan Thomas in, but we've seen him mess up before when he tried doing that, Richard.
Well, this is very interesting right now, because 4 seconds, we have something like 20 minutes of racing left in this race. So this is doable. This is going to be a battle for the lead in the next few laps, hopefully. If, as you say, Samuel, Stephen Ellis can just hold it together and get up towards Ryan Thomas there. The thing is, Ryan Thomas is carrying some damage, there's no doubt about it. You can see that even though he's fast, he's about half a second slower at the moment per lap than Stephen Ellis. So plenty of time for Stephen to catch up and start a battle with Ryan Toma. So let's see how it all shakes out, and hopefully we will get a great finish to this race.
Hopefully. Certainly saw one on GSRC earlier if you were here for our Spec Racer Ford big grid race. Like you say, Richard, there's 25 minutes to go, and the driver could be sitting real pretty if if a bit of disaster strikes is Richard Wedstead. Imagine that. After about 3 crashes this race, he's still sitting in third position. He may not be out of a win yet, Kevin.
Well, Samuel, first I want to just mention, since you brought it up, that SRF Big Grid race, that was one of the most exciting races we've ever seen. And that finish, just for you viewers, was between first and second was decided by 0.000 seconds.
Fantastic finish. I was there as well. Probably one of the best road finishes that I've ever seen, if not the best. And as Kevin said, there was nothing at all, 0.000 between the two first place finishes. And we got to call them both first place finishes, Kevin, because that was a dead heat if there ever is one.
And working to make a dead heat is Stephen Ellis right now. He's 2.9 seconds, 2.7 behind Ryan Toma as he clears turn 6. So definitely Stephen Ellis is the fast car on track right now. He was about 1.2 seconds faster the last lap than Ryan Toma, Samuel.
Yeah, I'm trying to think back to what the second best finish that GSRC has ever called is. I believe it was a finish between 3 Miatas or something, which was ended up with being won by Chris Moran in the CESCS. Where did that finish take place, Kevin?
That was at Daytona.
Indeed, it was at Daytona Road.
That was right here, and I can tell you another great finish from another series was one where 3 cars went to the line. They all hit each other, and in fact they were all in accident mode as they crossed the line, and that was at Charlotte in the then Blondie series. But getting back to this race, Stephen Ellis making time up very, very quickly now on Ryan Toma, and I'm very disappointed by this, Kevin, because if he's catching him that fast, it means he's going to be passing him, and he will be leading this race in the not too distant future.
Well, you're probably right, but right now Stephen Ellis is struggling a little bit with traffic, so maybe that helps Ryan Toma. Stephen's lost about almost a second of the gap that he had caught up to Ryan Toma with.
Well, that's very good, because my point that I'm trying to make here is we want to see a battle for the lead, not just one car passing the next one and then saying bye-bye, see you later. I would love to see a little battle happening here now. Ryan Toma, we know, is a fighter. We've seen him in a Indy car do really hard battle for the lead at various points in a race that we covered. Let's see when Stephen does catch him, as there doesn't seem any doubt that he will, that we see a great battle for the lead of this race.
Yeah, and like we were alluding to, those great finishes all happening at Roval. Stephen Ellis has been able to clear the lap traffic. Now, I'm sure there'll be more in the final 21 minutes of this race, but we could see another great finish at this infamous Roval here at Daytona. Currently, the gap is 3.3 seconds, and let's see, about 21 minutes to go. So, yeah, we're looking at just about 15 to 20 laps left here, Kevin.
We do, but plenty of time definitely for Stephen Ellis to try and catch up. At least I'm hoping. Once again, he's pulled off a little bit of time, but that last lap he was slowed by the GT traffic, so he's got that to work over again.
And I wouldn't worry too much, Richard, if Stephen is able to catch Toma before the end of a race, because if he does, and he does get in front of Toma's going to be able to pick up a draft and maybe even pass him back, so we could still end up with an exciting battle, even if it did start within 2 or 3 laps from now.
Yeah, absolutely right. I would just hate for him to blow by, but it looks very interesting now. It looks, Kevin, as if Ryan Toma has responded, and or maybe it's just Stephen Ellis being held up a little bit, but certainly it's looking promising for a good finish to this race.
And I just have to point out we're getting a little bit of harassment on the YouTube chat that it is definitely Ryan Toma and not Ryan Toma. So get it right, Richard.
Hey, I'm not the one making the mistakes here. I'm saying Toma, as it should be, not Toma.
All right,
So I just had to have a go.
YouTube commentators, pick which commentator you think's pronouncing it the worst. I'm Samuel, the Australian guy's Richard, the son of a guy is Kevin. Anyway, something I was about to bring up here, going back to the GT thing, really no change there. We got about 17 seconds between Jimbo Pfeiffer leading over Ryan Otis, Ryan Worley still in third. Really the closest battle still there.
Oh, guys, I'm sorry, I'm going to cut right in there. Cliff Kyer was chasing John Brown. John Brown spun it in the, I think, in the International Horseshoe, and he was tagged by Cliff Kyer as well, and then lost the position, and now is struggling back on to get back on track and back on form again.
And that was the battle that I was about to allude to, and you called it for me, Richard.
Well, I got to tell you, Matthew Sobolski is now mixed up with John Brown. John Brown goes really wide, getting onto the banking, and Matthew Sobolski flies by John Brown in all kinds of dramas at the moment there, Samuel.
Yeah, and this is going on right by our DP leaders. Ryan Tom actually lost about half a second, having to slow up for that. Let's see if John Brown costs Stephen Ellis any time here. Stephen on the radio telling John he's coming, going down the inside in the boot. John Brown takes a turn though, which he has every right to do. He's still in front. It's Stephen's responsibility to make a way by him. But yeah, certainly lap traffic, delay in Stephen's catch. And honestly, Stephen has been slowing in on reeling Toma up, and that's not really as much Toma's fault. Toma's been running the same laps as much as Stephen's just stopped putting on hot laps. But I have a feeling, Kevin, that's because of this lap traffic.
It is because of the lap traffic. Definitely Ryan Toma getting a little bit more of an advantage. And we just had to answer the question we posed ourselves about an hour ago. Will Richard Wedstead be able to make it to the end without filling up? Nope, he had to stop just now and get some more fuel.
He's
and
still
that
in
puts
third.
him back. That put him back to over a minute behind. I have to say, with Stephen Ellis coming up on John Brown there just before the bus stop, that was a heart-stopping moment for Stephen Ellis. He had to brake more heavily than he wanted to just on entry into the bus stop, and his car wiggled severely, and he almost lost it there. And John Brown sailed on through, but that was a wicked moment right there for Stephen Ellis.
And Stephen Ellis just had another bit of a moment where he lost a lot of time behind, I think it was the driver known as Skip, into turn 6. So Stephen Ellis, once again, has it all to do again.
But
Okay, so let's take stock. Sorry, go ahead there, Samuel.
I was just going to say, still got 17 minutes left to go, Richard.
Well, I just want to take stock here. Stephen looks a little loose coming out of the bus stop that time. So let's take stock. So Ryan Toma is leading. He's doing 1 minute 40s, 0.7. Stephen Ellis also in the 140s, but slightly faster than that on the last lap, certainly. They're both being held up by slower traffic at the moment. There's about 3 seconds between them. Plenty of laps to go. We still have a race here, folks.
And there was a moment, there was a bit of a battle between Jack Longris and Jeff Graham for 6th in the Riley field. And just as they got into turn 6, Jack Longris had a big spin. He exited out and he's disconnected. I think he's decided enough is enough.
Well, that's right. When I switched to that battle, he was gone. And I can tell you, folks, that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars out at the moment. Drew Lalonde is out of the race. Carl Clemens is out. Mike Willett is out. Bruce Lawson is out, and Jack Longris has now joined them. Not a bad attrition rate at all, Samuel. 5 cars out of the 28 cars that started.
Yeah, certainly. I was fearing it would be a lot worse because I was as worried as you were, Richard, when I saw that this field is, well, I'm not going to say 28-car field is small, but we commentated to a 60-car field earlier. But all of the field have been able to keep it clean, so we've been treated to exciting racing the entire time. And as far as we know, it could come down to the wire again, because Stephen Ellis is still reeling in Ryan Thomas, 2.2 seconds a gap now.
Yeah, Ellis is definitely a man on a mission, as it sounds like we're going to go on board with Ellis right now. And he's having a heck of a run, but he's getting a little balked by traffic a little bit. Nice move out onto the banking and sail on by that roof at about 180 miles an hour.
He's definitely catching Thomas, no doubt about it. The gap now is visible. And you guys will know, all of you being racers, you will know once you can actually see the other guy coming to you, coming back to you, that's when your adrenaline starts really pumping. The heart rate goes up to about 180 beats a minute, and all of a sudden you're faster. You take more risks. You are more interested in catching the other guy than in being careful about what speeds you're doing into corners, etc. He can see all of that happening right now. Stephen Ellis has Ryan Thomas in sight. They are just going through the Western Horseshoe. They'll get onto the banking soon if he's in range. And Thomas, by the way, does have some lap traffic just in front of him. I think he's going to be on him in the next couple of laps.
Well, he's definitely got a sniff of that draft right now, Stephen Ellis does, so this is going to be all his advantage right now to be able to get that draft and pull up even closer to Ryan Thomas.
Meanwhile, while we got the moment, we would like to thank the people who are engaging on our social media platforms, particularly race driver Carl.
Spinners in front of Ryan Thomas. They were too wide in the roof going into the bus stop. Ryan Thomas coming up behind them. The car on the inside, and I haven't seen who that is, could not hold it. And the car on the outside held up Ryan Thomas severely. But in the meantime, Stephen Ellis braked hard to slow the car down before getting into that melee, and lost a fraction of time that he caught up on Thomas. But still, Kevin, right now we have a race. They're right on each other.
Yeah, that was the battle between Chris Beck and Ryan Otis, that inter-class battle with the Riley and the roof that was going on for so long, and it looks like it finally came to blows, although neither one touched. They just both kind of ran out of track, and now Stephen Ellis, he's about 3/4 of a second behind Ryan Thomas. It's looking pretty well for him right now.
Actually, Chris Beck had actually triumphed in that battle I'd say go by a slow McLaren there. Chris Beck had actually triumphed in that battle for a while, Kevin, but he had actually spun earlier during that lap, and that is what had reeled Ryan Otis back in on him. So 2 spins in 1 lap, and he overshot
Go ahead, Sergio, go ahead.
Ryan Thomas, I guess he saw the GT car going slow in front, and that is race over. It looks like unless Stephen Ellis does something similar, he's got this win. Now though, Ryan Thomas is back on the track, and he's got the straight line speed still. Does he have a handling to bring home a second place finish still, Richard?
Well, you know, that I really did not want to see that. That is tragic. It is unfortunate. It is all the adjectives that Kevin used in one of our races. He's still going. He's got second place at this stage. He's got a useful lead over Richard Wedstead. All is not lost, but he has to give up any opportunity for fighting for the lead now, unless Stephen Ellis makes a big mistake up front.
And, you know, that's an easy mistake to make. I've made that before. You're at a spot where you think you're going to be able to pass the lap GT car, and you're not really paying attention to your braking markers. They're a little hard to see because they're on the other side of the car. And next thing you know, you're going about 100 miles an hour too fast into the entry turn 6. And Ryan, that just bit him hard right there. That was just unfortunate. That was terrible and tragic to see.
Having said that, he is still going, and we've said it a couple of times before, it's all about points in a long series, so he's still looking good for a second place. And if truth be told, Stephen Ellis was catching him. Whether he would have passed him is another story altogether, Samuel, but So we're not going to get the good finish perhaps that we hoped for. But from their point of view, Ryan Thomas' point of view, second place, not too shabby for 2.5 hours work.
No, certainly not. It could have, like you say, it could have very easily been a second place finish anyway. And we know Ryan Thomas, a driver who's good on ovals as well. So he's certainly in this for the championship. He's in this for the long haul. Second place finish certainly is not going to hurt him in the long run. Anyway, back to the social media YouTube shout out. We would like to thank Kyle Clemens and Labonte Fanman43 and also Diane Moshe on giving us comments. Our director has been feeding us notes based off of the comments, so certainly the social media engagement doing its job today, and we'd like to thank you guys for it. It's always helpful to have other people critiquing us and giving us little helpful hints like mispronunciations of Toma, which I will continue to do throughout the rest of the broadcast unintentionally, and I apologise. And Cliff Rayer and Ray Nelson, is there anything else you would like to give a shout out to, Kevin?
No, so I was just trying to point out, get your attention to the battle between Cliff Carrier and Ray Nelson.
Oh.
It's about, it was about 1 second, and it's pulled off a little bit, and it looks like Chris Beck just spun in turn one. He's having a rough few laps now.
Meanwhile, folks, we've not had a look at our C2 class leader at any stage in the last probably half an hour. So that is none other than Jimbo Pfeiffer. And, you know, for a moment there, I thought I was seeing double because I switched between Jimbo and the second place, which is Ryan Otis, and it was exactly the same car. And I just took me a second or so to realize that by the car numbers, which are different, that even though the color schemes are exactly the same and they're probably teammates, these were two different cars. But Jimbo leading this race very, very comfortably, and looks like his teammate Ryan Otis in second place, and Ryan Worley, who's been quietly going about his business. All of these guys, by the way, are miles apart from each other, but they are just quietly going about their business, and it looks like that's going to be the podium at the end of this race.
Yeah, we're not necessarily sure that they're teammates, Richard, but I noticed that earlier that they do have fairly similar looking cars. Honestly, the closest two cars on the track right now are Cliff Carrier and Ray Nelson, but they are 4.5 seconds apart. So finally, after 2 hours and 17 minutes of racing, the action has finally simmered down. But we got 7 minutes left, and anything could happen, Kevin.
Anything can indeed happen, but let's hope maybe it's settled down a little bit so we can kind of catch our breath. As we said, Stephen Ellis is leading, and as I say that, Matthew Sabowski just about loops into turn one. So Matthew's had a rough day as well.
Yeah, Matthew has had his offs and ons. He just got really, really wide going to turn one there and lost a position to Ray Nelson, because Ray Nelson is now ahead of him. And, you know, these guys are still fighting for position, even though they're pretty far back. We mustn't lose track of the fact that these guys are fighting for position. Cliff Carrier is another guy that we've spoken about quite a lot. He seems to be in the middle of any action that's taking place. Like, you know, I want to be involved in everything. And it's been a good race for these guys, I'm pretty sure, and they will have learned a lot from racing with the other guys as to how to go forward into the next race in this series.
And I just have to correct you real quick, Richard. That is not actually a battle for position between Sabowski and Nelson. Nelson is a lap behind Sabowski.
Well, I have to admit that you are quite correct, and even though I hate admitting that, they are a lap apart, definitely.
Never like telling Kevin that he's right. We got just under 6 minutes left in this race, about 3 or 4 laps to go. Stephen Ellis currently leading the DP field. Jimbo Pfeiffer currently leading GT. And there's a spinner, Lawrence Dayton, in the International Horseshoe, but the rest of the field able to go by okay, although I think Randy Webster, who has seen his fair share of action, was involved in it too. and the field clears up. But Kevin, what do you think of this series so far, now that we've been able to pretty much see a full race under our belts?
Well, we kind of hit the nail on the head, I think, when we said we've seen a lot less attrition than we expected, so that's been great for the quality of racing, and we've been able to see racing throughout the 2.5 hour period. But what I'm really excited to see is the next round, the Daytona 500. How are these racers going to progress to an oval track? Who's going to, what cream is going to rise to the top?
Yeah, certainly, considering there's a new 50% tape rule on the Cup cars, which means they won't be able to bump draft, so we'll have lots of exciting pack racing there. As still just watching Ryan Thomas make his way around the track in that beat-up car. Ryan could easily pit and get out in second position still ahead of Richard Wedstead, but it doesn't seem like he wants to do that.
Yeah, quite interesting. I was just thinking about what Kevin just said a second ago about going through to the oval race next, which is going to be their Daytona 500. That's going to be a great race, and as we see another car off there in turn one, probably a back marker. I'm watching Ryan Thomas at this point in time. He is traveling pretty well with that damaged car still and holding on to that second place, 13 seconds back from Stephen Ellis, but he's still doing pretty well, I would think, Samuel.
Yeah, he is, and like I say, he's only got about 2 or 3 laps left to go with it, so we'll see. We'll see how that goes. That was Skip who had that spin over in the first corner. And we have seen a few drivers in the GT cars in particular have some difficulty, I guess, just getting used to this car on this track combination today. But kudos to them for keeping up with it, and hopefully they'll be able to get some good points as a result. We'll see at the end of the season how it pays out for them. Now, I'm watching Stephen Ellis come around the final corner here. He's about to cross the start-finish line with 3 minutes to go. So by my math, we've got about 2 laps left right now, Kevin.
Yeah, I think you're right, Samuel. So let's see. It was 2:21:04. Yeah, it looks like it's going to be 2 laps.
Well, the getting back to what Kevin was talking about earlier, and what is exciting about this whole series is we've got different cars in the series, and different types of racing. So you've got 6 oval races as well as 6 road races. A lot of the guys in this race now have to jump into an oval car and tackle Daytona Oval. So it's going to be very, very interesting to follow a particular driver, any of the drivers, doesn't matter who, as they go through the different cars and see which cars, Kevin, they're going to choose to drive in the different races. And I think that is the huge attraction of this particular series.
And just so that everybody's aware, I'm going to run those off real quick. February 23rd, the Daytona 500. Everybody's running the Gen 6 cars at Daytona. March 16th is the 120 minutes to Sebring, HPD, Corvette, Ford GT. April 20th, the Camping World Trucks Silverados at Rockingham. May 25th, Indy 500, the Dallara at Indy. June 8th is the Grand Prix of Canada, the Williams F1 at Montreal. July 20th, the Brickyard 400, Gen 6 is again at Indy. July 27th, the Total 2.4 Spa, McLaren, BMW, Ford GT, and Roof. August 17th, Camping World Trucks Silverado at Bristol. September 1st is the Gen 6 at Darlington. October 5th is HPD Vet Ford GT at Road Atlanta. And October 12th is the Bathurst 100 with the Ford Falcon.
Fantastic stuff. I am particularly interested in the longer races. I do find these endurance races really fun to partake in and to watch. And to me, running these very powerful cars on some of the shorter tracks mentioned there is not going to be fun. That's where, if anything, you're going to see a lot of attrition, as I'm sure Samuel will tell you, particularly if they're going to be running Gen 6 cars on those short tracks. But a great series. I think it kind of roughly follows, with a twist, it follows the Road Warrior series with different cars, excepting that the Road Warrior sticks to road courses and this goes that extra step in also introducing oval tracks. But we must be getting pretty close to the end, Samuel. So let's follow our leader, Stephen Ellis, as he completes his final laps.
Yeah, we didn't see the white flag, but I have reason to believe we're on the final lap. We're going to call it as if it is, and if we're wrong, we'll call it in the next lap. But Stephen Ellis is leading, and honestly, I think he's had the fastest car all day. He's made a couple of mistakes. He had a slow pit stop on, and the white flag is indeed out in the air. He had a slow pit stop on his first stop, and he's going really slow now. I don't know what that's all about. Could he
slow down?
Yeah, that's... Well, I mean, he's got a 21-second lead over Ryan Thomas. I'm just hoping he's not out of fuel, but even if he is, he'd probably be able to coast around to the finish line. Here he is, Stephen Ellis, coming out of turn 1. He is going to be your first ever Northwest Majors champion here at Daytona International Speedway. Great drive by Stephen Ellis. The race is indeed over. We got to go back about 20 seconds before we see Ryan Thomas coming out of the final turn. In front of him is Ryan Otis, who's going to get second in the GT class. So
well, isn't that interesting, Samuel? Isn't that fairly interesting? We had Stephen Ellis closely followed by the class winner in the other class, which is Jimbo Pfeiffer, and then the second place and the second place in the other class sort of crossing the line pretty much at the same time. So that's a nice touch.
Yeah, I confess that I missed Jimbo Pfeiffer, but yeah, that was pretty cool. Certainly a great way to start off the season here, I think. And like I say, I think Stephen Ellis deserved that win, because him and Ryan Thomas and Richard Wedstead made mistakes. That's what it came down to. Stephen Ellis made a mistake too, but was able to get away with it. He ended up getting the victory. And remember, that amount of points is just the same amount of points as what Jimbo Pfeiffer is. And so whichever one of them comes out on top at the day... Oh, as Richard Wedstead, for good measure, puts in the wall coming through the bus stop on the final lap. But he's able to keep on going and should be able to take that third position. So, you know, certainly going to be an interesting season. And you were talking about those Gen 6 cars, Richard. Honestly, the race I'm looking forward to is a Formula 1 car at Canada. These drivers better have a bit of practice before they step into one of those Williams cars. Richard Wedstead finally crosses the line, and he's beat up Riley car for a third place finish. So Stephen Ellis, Ryan Thomas and Richard Wedstead, the top 3 DP cars. And Jimbo Pfeiffer, Ryan Otis and Ryan Worley take the top 3 GT spots. We'll be back after these messages for hopefully a couple of post-race interviews. Hello and welcome back to Daytona International Speedway, where round 1 of 12 of season 1 of the Northwest Majors Racing Series is in the books, and it was quite an exciting race with really the front of the field being defined by multiple lead changes. Actually, let's see if we can get an official number on that. 8 lead changes between Stephen Ellis, Ryan Thomas and Richard Wedstead. And at the end of the day, it was Stephen Ellis that came out on top, with Ryan Thomas in second and Richard Wedstead in third. These were all in the Riley cars. David Warner in fifth place and Tracy Reynolds in fifth. Jeff Graham rounded out the top 6 before the DP cars crossed the line. Richard?
Yes, and first of the roof cars to finish, or the C2 class, was Jimbo Pfeiffer. He was followed by Ryan Otis, also in a roof. Chris Beck in a Riley actually followed those 2 roof cars. Ryan Worley was third in the C2 class in a roof. Chris Bland was next, then Brian Barnes, and another Riley in William Fletcher. Kevin?
And after that was Matthew Sabowski, Cliff Kayer, Ray Nelson, John Brown, Stephen Paulson, Craig Capon, and Ray Fournier was 20th, Samuel.
Yes, and then we got the drivers who didn't have such fortunate races. Randy Webster in the roof, Lawrence Stanton in the roof, 21st and 22nd. In the Riley, Jack Longgrass, who had that late incident in the Riley, finished 23rd. Robert Worthington, 24th in the roof. Carl Clemens, 25th in the roof. Drew Lalonde, 26th in the McLaren. Bruce Lawson, 27th in the roof. And Mike Ouellette, 28th in the roof. But a driver who had a much more fortunate and well-fought race to the top step of the podium was Stephen Ellis. Stephen, can you hear me?
I can, yes, Samuel. How you doing?
I'm all right. Well, Stephen, 8 lead changes during that race. I'm sure it felt a lot more like a lot more than that, though. It seemed every time one of you would run away with the lead, something would happen, and then finally you were the one who was on top when it was all said and done.
Yeah, it was a shame. I was catching Ryan, and it was shaping up to be really good, and then he just had a spin coming onto the bank in there. I didn't exactly see what happened, but it was a shame because I don't think I'd have got away from him. I think if I'd have caught him, we'd have been battling all the way to the flag, just because of the way the draft works, you know.
Yeah, certainly. We were actually commenting in the broadcast booth that we were hoping that's how the race was going to end. Obviously, that unfortunately wasn't the case. Still, though, you get to take a win away from this race. Did you have your mind set on the win when coming in to this road course race, or are you more of an oval guy?
No, I'm not an oval guy at all, no. I'm much more road, yeah. I mean, I got pole, but it was a bit of an artificial pole because I got a very good draft. So I think I got about 2 or 3 tenths, which is the difference I had to Ryan. So I knew we were very, very closely matched, and we were during the race, and Richard as well. And then maybe David Warner as well, if he hadn't had. I think he had problems on the first lap, but I think he could have been up there too.
Final question. This is the Northwest League. You don't sound like you're from the Northwest.
No, from England originally, but a Texan wife, and we live here in Portland, Oregon, and yeah, love it here.
Yeah, I'm over in North Carolina right now. I don't know if you can hear my accent too, but anyway, personal stuff aside, it was a great race today, and you know, we're just as disappointed as you are that we didn't get to see a good fight at the end there, but I'm sure you're not disappointed with the result.
No, not at all. It was a great race, great fun, and I love this. Thanks to Mike Ouellette for getting it all together, and I love this format. The long races, the longer it goes on, the more relaxed you get, and so yeah, looking forward to the rest of the season. It should be fun.
All right, well, we look forward to seeing you. We're going to bring in our GT winner now. Jimbo is about to come in here, and I'm going to let Kevin Brown interview him.
Jimbo, fantastic run today. It didn't seem like you were going to be challenged at all.
It was a lot of fun. The second stint, though, Ryan was catching up to me about a half second to a second a lap, though. So I thought it was going to be close, especially if something bad happened.
Yeah, he was definitely catching up, but having something bad happen, it didn't seem like that was going to be in your cards tonight. Certainly not the way you ran.
Yeah, it was a fun race. I was really excited because I had tried the 2.4, the iRacing events yesterday, and they both ended with spin-outs right in front of me in turn one. And I thought the Northwest Racers did a great job today because I saw a couple of snafus, but it didn't seem like anybody took anybody else out.
Yeah, no, we definitely commented on that during the race that it was not a high attrition rate, so that was definitely well done. But yeah, Jimbo, I don't know what more we can say. It was just a great run from you. You were clockwork out there today, dude.
Thanks, man. Yeah, no, I practiced a lot of laps, so I was really happy I actually got to finish.
Well, you did pretty well. Are you going to show up for the next round for the Daytona 500?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's going to be a blast.
So the fall. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say thanks to you guys for broadcasting the race. This is awesome.
Oh, you're welcome. So my follow-up question for you is, you any good at the ovals?
No, but unfortunately the oval guys won't like hearing this, but it doesn't take a whole lot of skill to be good at the ovals. You just have to dodge trouble.
Oh, boy, you may have just started a war there.
There you go.
All right, well, congratulations again, Jimbo.
All right, thanks, and thanks again for broadcasting.
Well, we wish best of luck to Jimbo and look forward to seeing him running around mid-pack in the oval races. Anyhow, Richard Wedstead is now here for an interview, and I'm going to let our Richard interview him.
Well, very happy to do that. Richard Wedstead, you certainly had your chances in this race, my friend. What happened from your perspective?
Oh man, I just started overdriving the car here and there and lost it a couple times. I actually ended up pitting I think 4 times, and that alone cost me the race. But I'm just happy to stay on the lead lap. I mean, I think that was pretty big and kind of my goal. So I was pretty happy with the result.
Yeah, well, you did come away with 3rd place, which is it's a long series that you guys have to go through. So 3rd place in the first race is not a bad result. But, we did watch you considerably during the broadcast. And as I say, you certainly had your chances right up until that last accident, which was pretty terminal for you. Luckily, you could still keep going.
Yeah, I did everything I could to keep it from damaging the car to the point where I could not continue. So, if I can average a top 3 throughout this series, I think that'll at least leave me in the hunt the entire series, and that's what I'm looking for.
Absolutely, and a 3rd place finish in some pretty good company is nothing to be scoffed at. Well, my friend, thank you for talking to us very much. We look forward to watching you in some of the other races. Now, we are going to have an oval race, and we've asked the other 2 guys about their chances in an oval race. What do you think yours are?
I'm more of a road guy. I dabble here and there in the oval stuff, but yeah, I'm more comfortable on the road. So hopefully I can just be consistent and carry that through onto the ovals and get some decent finishes.
Yeah, well, Jimbo said that oval racing is easy, so nothing to worry about. He's looking forward to it. So it is not easy, that I can tell you from driving ovals myself. But best of luck in the upcoming races, and congratulations once again on your 3rd place finish. Thanks for talking to us, and back to you, Samuel.
Thank you, Richard. Got one more interview before, one or maybe 2 more interviews before we head out tonight. First of all, our 2nd place finisher, Ryan Otis. Ryan, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Ryan, you had a very good pit stop there on your first round of pit stops, and you were able to close in on Jimbo. Was there a point during this race where you thought you could have taken home a W?
Yeah, I felt like the car was working really well. Kind of got in the groove on my 2nd stint, and started getting close to him. I think I got within about 4 seconds or so, and then just started falling back. And then after my 3rd stop, after my 2nd stop, I actually kind of struggled to get back on the pace, and he opened up a bigger gap on me.
Now, the roof class was a lot more competitive, in my opinion, than the than the Riley class. So surely this is a blessing to come out of this with a second place finish, knowing how competitive it was, where you to have dropped back a little bit.
Yeah, no, I'm thrilled with the second. Jimbo was really crazy fast all day, so I was happy just to kind of stay within a reasonable distance of him.
Awesome. Well, we certainly enjoyed watching you today, Ryan. You're going to be running the whole season, and if that's the case, how's your mentality towards the oval circuits?
I've done a little bit of oval in the past. I'm not one of the super fast oval guys, so it'll definitely be a learning experience for me, I think, with some of the talent that there is running this series.
Well, we wish you all the best, Ryan, and thanks for putting on the race today. It's a pity we couldn't see you up there racing side by side with Jimbo, but I mean, nothing to frown about a second.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
All right, well, thank you, and one more interview before we head out, and that is with the series organizer, Mike Ouellette, and I'm going to let Kevin take that one.
Well, Mike, I don't know about you, but it seems like that was a pretty successful round one to Northwest Major Series.
I could not agree more. Yeah, we got 27-8 drivers, something like that. 31 registered, 28 showed up. As you guys mentioned throughout the day, hardly anybody dropped out of the race. So that was really a big goal, was for people to not give up. It's an endurance race, and wanted to see people feel like what it was to finish a 2.5-hour race.
Yeah, absolutely. So there were little hiccups. It looked like Matthew Sabowski may have gotten maybe a little hurt by getting marked a lap down right off the bat. So I wanted to bring that to your attention. But tell us what you expect for the next round, Daytona 500.
Yeah, well, with regard to Matt, first of all, he unfortunately, I don't know what happened after gridding, he exited out to the pits, and that when he came back on the track, obviously it scored him a lap down. I'm not really sure what happened there. With regard to Daytona, I think you're going to see a huge field. It's still 43 car limit. We may have to do, some sort of dual qualifiers. Obviously in the Northwest Club, we've got a lot of oval drivers in general. I think it's going to be extremely popular. And so to make the 43 might be kind of interesting. So I think we're going to see a packed house. I know you guys mentioned the smaller field for tonight. I was thrilled with the 27 or 8 that we had. And I think we'll get, again, 43 for Daytona. And I think Sebring was going to have a larger field as well once people see this broadcast and kind of see how cool it was. So I'm going to spam everybody with the broadcast link once you guys have it up and show them what they missed.
Sounds good to me. I'm sure Samuel and Richard are salivating at the idea of a 43 car field at Daytona.
Sure am.
I don't have to broadcast the race, right? I can be in it.
No, you cannot, Samuel. So, all right, Mike. Well, that sounds great. We are looking forward to the next round.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it.
All right, and thank you, Mike, for putting on this league. And I'm just going to ask you to, my co-commentators, quickly, what did you think?
Well, I think we got some surprisingly good racing. We were a little worried that it was going to be a light field and not much would happen. But no, we got to see lots of action on track, and I'm pretty pleased with that.
Richard?
Yep, I have to agree with Kevin 100%. I, too, had a little misgiving at the beginning of the race, but it settled down into what I thought was pretty exciting, and it bodes well for the future of the series. And as Michael Ouellette said, we've got some oval races coming up that are going to be full fields, and I am loving the thought of that straight up.
Yes, I certainly am too. Anyhow, we would like to thank Mike Ouellette for putting this league together. We would also like to thank makers of various software and hardware that help make this stream possible: iRacing.com, XSplit, Twitch.tv, Audio Technica, and Ava Media. Thanks to the team today as well. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, you can find it at www.globalsimracingchannel.com, along with archived races and race highlights. We're also on Twitter at GSR Channel and Facebook at facebook.com/Global Sim Racing Channel. A special thank you to Eric Ekholm, who provides us with much of our music. You can find it not only here on GSRC, but also in TV commercials, movie trailers, iTunes, and Spotify. If you like our music, tell Eric where you heard it at ericekholm.com. Thanks to Casey Lalonde, who also provides us with the music for our broadcasts. You can find more of his music at caseylalonde.bandcamp.com. Our next race will be the exciting, memorable Daytona race at the Oval Circuit with the Gen 6 that will be on February 23rd at 6 p.m. Pacific time. Our next GSRC broadcast will be back here at the Daytona Road Course. That will be the Enduro Pro Series on February 1st, next Saturday at 8 a.m. Pacific time. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.